Handshake.
Hug. Bro hug.
Hug.
None of
Bro
the
hug.
above.
There's only one way to
You want to
wake
make
up in the
D
morning.
those days are over?
Well, I'd rather yeah, that's fine. But I'd like the something where it says, because I want to see how many people say they're done touching people. How many Howie Mandels we have going forward.
Nobody worse at the bro hug than one day.
D could be Howie Mandel was right.
Used to be.
Don't touch me.
2019, I found my bro hug group.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
We are live.
Guests appear on the Goldberg
You're looking
Program
live.
hotline, Goldberg-law.com.
It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it. Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this first Thursday of May, the 7th day of the month. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We're streaming at foxsportsfm.com. And once again, you could be looking live on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well. And yourself, David?
I'm doing okay.
Sounds like you're a little
Trying to talk myself into that.
that's kind of
Actually,
what
to
I
be
got out of that.
honest
I'm apprehensive to give my truthful answer to you because you really sounded like you were full of it. I mean, I've been there in the morning when I say I'm great, and you go, really? That didn't sound sincere, David.
Yep.
Let's try that again. How are you this morning, David?
I'm okay.
That's you know what, you might as well stick with that because that at least is honest.
Yeah. Come see, come saw. There you go.
There you go. French,
That-
ninth grade. That's about all I remember too, David.
Madame Lil, right there. That's for you, wherever you may be.
Yeah, come see, come saw. Very good. Well, David, can I give you some good news?
Knock yourself out, big fella.
This is a day that usually has you giddy
Yes.
with anticipation.
I
mean,
want to do a
David,
Twitch show.
there is a time in which you were running around yelling like Steve Martin from The Jerk, the new phone books are here, the new phone books are here, the new phone books are here.
I liked it much better when it was released early in the afternoon than having to wait until the evening.
Well, David, now it's a television show like
Oh,
everything else.
is.
And if the draft did numbers that were far superior than any draft, obviously, because of the situation we're in. We have no sports unless you get up early to watch the Korean Baseball League on ESPN2.
Taiwan letting fans into their games.
Good
they
for
announced.
them. Good for them. We're going to let fans into our games, too.
Maybe,
I know.
depending on where you are.
But, David, how many people in pure boredom are going to tune in to the NFL Network or ESPN or wherever the hell they're releasing this thing, probably on several networks, because why wouldn't you, to watch a schedule being released tonight?
Well, I believe it's NFL Network only, and the NFL Network's, properties. I think they took it away from ESPN. Here's the interesting thing, though. They're having the official schedule release at 8 o'clock. Yet they're allowing all 32 teams to begin releasing their schedule at 7:30. So do we think that the teams are going to hold on until 8 o'clock? I mean, this would be like having Selection Sunday for the NCAA tournament, in which CBS's show is going to begin at 6. But if you've been notified that you made the tournament, you could let everybody know beginning at 5:30. So it's going to be a little weird that way. The NFL Network's going to want you to wait till 8, but let's face it, you're really only interested in one team's schedule, and there's a good chance that you'll know between 7:30 and 7:40 from that team's Twitter and website and what have you. But word is out that the non-conference games apparently are going to go first. That's why yesterday at this time when it leaked out that the first game on September 10th is rumored to be Carolina at Kansas City. And we all kind of made that face like, what? You're going to put Carolina? And then the thought was, well, maybe they're going with the non-conference games first. And also, let's be honest, the first regular season NFL game, they could put East Tennessee State against the Chiefs, and 25 million people are going to watch it.
There's no doubt there. And we got a text earlier this morning. Why would the NFL do that? Well, it's very simple. They are making a contingency for a 12-game schedule. That's it. That's what's going on here, everyone. And the non-conference games are the most unimportant games in an NFL schedule in terms of determining playoffs. The first thing you go to in a tiebreaker is head-to-head, and then you go to conference schedules and division records and all those things. So that's why they're getting rid of these. It's for the playoffs, and they're making plans in case they have to go to 14 or 16 games this year.
Well, and I think they're also doing it for travel reasons. Let's face it, if you're going to have an abbreviated schedule of some kind, it's going to be because we're going to have a second major wave of COVID-19. And so if anything, I think they're going to make it so that travel later on in the year, those in the medical community are worried about November and beyond if flu season and COVID meet, that things could get worse. Therefore, in theory, Mark, you could bust the games. I think they're making plans so that if they have to do it where the end of the season games are only division games. And in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, like if you play in the two northern divisions, you really could bus to the games. Just a thought. That if by chance we're back to where we were a couple of weeks ago, where basically they weren't putting anybody on a plane.
Yeah, I don't. Okay. I mean, I think they would still be able to charter planes. They fly a little differently than you and I do. So, it's basically, to me, and that could be a reason, and I'm not worried about it. To be frank, I don't care if we play the non-conference games early. The only people that'll be disappointed by this are Fox and CBS.
Potentially.
Yes, because some late season games won't go the way they wanted, David. But other than that, it's the NFL.
Yeah, and I think that the networks are just going to be so thrilled that if this season starts on time, and they know they're going to get great numbers. They are going to get great regular season NFL ratings if, in fact, or when the games are played. But a schedule drop in a little more than 12 hours tonight, and that probably is the highlight of the sports world on this day. We'll talk plenty of NFL throughout the show. We've got quite a few good guests lined up, including Dave Wanstead in a couple hours to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Mark, man, we don't normally do this, and we certainly don't do it unintentionally very often throughout our 13 years together. But my goodness, people get bent out of shape about our poll question yesterday.
I didn't think they got bent out of shape. I thought it just morphed into a complete different discussion. I don't think it was bent out of shape. I never ever once took it as bent out of shape. I took it as people engaging. I mean, they started doing their own Mount Rushmore of local high school coaches. I thought it was terrific.
Well, the local media went that route. But see, okay, and once again, we see things differently. But I thought it started with people upset with who our four were. They thought that we missed.
We did.
People.
We missed two people.
Well, to me, I think it was a poll question that was going to leave us leaving people off because there weren't a definite four. There were 6, 7, or even 8 that could have been on it. So, I mean, we could have had an entirely separate poll question with 4 other names.
Absolutely. But when I looked back upon it, I really think, Billy Donovan ended up being the guy that most people thought should have been on there. That, to me, wasn't the guy. That wasn't the guy we missed. The guy we actually missed was Mike Martin, the baseball coach at Florida State. In terms of what he's done, the length of time. People complained about Riley not coaching long enough and some of the other things that were on there. I actually looked at that and went, man, we missed Martin.
Well,
And no one would have known who he was.
Well, Billy Donovan, Mike Martin. See, to me, if you're going to mention Mike Martin, you may as well go all the way back and say Ron Frazier, the longtime Miami baseball coach, because he started that dynasty. I mean, when they started their run of 44 consecutive NCAA tournaments made, and they started being a dominant force on the national scene and winning a couple national titles, that was all Ron Frazier. Jim Morris took over a year later. There was a coach in between the two for a year, and then Jim had his 30-year run. But I could say you go all the way back. If we're going to go Mike Martin, you're going to have the Canes fan go, well, we got to have Ron Frazier, especially since he won the final game of the year a couple times. But yeah, the whole question, in case you missed it, was the day before we had done a
Shula Belichick.
Right. And then we said, listen, if we're doing a Mount Rushmore of Florida coaches, I mean, 3 of the 4 are pretty easy. It's Shula, it's Bowden, it's Spurrier. All right, so who's the 4th? And that led to a serious discussion. And I will say, I don't think people got their facts right. Like, it's interesting to me. Well, you can't have Urban because he didn't coach long enough. Well, he actually coached a year longer in the state than Jimmy did, at least at Miami. Now, Jimmy then did the 4 years with the Dolphins, but nobody gives him any credit for those 4 years. They actually think it detracts from his resume, even though he made the playoffs 3 of the 4 years. So, and also Pat Riley didn't coach enough. Well, Pat Riley came down here in 96. Pat Riley coached 9 consecutive seasons, made the Miami Heat a viable franchise, turns it over to Stan Van Gundy for a year and 21 games, and then takes over in the 06 season and leads them to their first title, and then coaches for a few more years and then handed it over to Spoelstra. I mean, Riley's put in like 12 years as head coach of the Heat, and people think he came and did it for like 4.
Because he wasn't coaching LeBron, and we live in a recency type world where they look at the Heat as the LeBron Heat, LeBron Wade Bosch Heat, and don't count the Shaq Wade Heat, if you will, for whatever reason. I don't look at. Hey, I guess you and I just look at this differently. I thought it was hilarious that every time I looked at my phone, I had 14 new Twitter messages because someone else was chiming in about a high school coach, because it morphed into later in the day of who would be the 4 local coaches. And I just said, and I first off, I don't care about high school sports down here. I don't go to high school games. I don't cover high school games. I know what an important part of the fabric of the community they are. And when my daughter starts going to school, I will go to high school games. But my son went to high school in North Carolina, so I didn't get that here, like David did with his daughter being a cheerleader at South. So David took in some of that and watched some great ball players at South. David also covered high school athletics with ABC7 for a decade. So I didn't cover any of that. I was working hockey games. So we just threw out the local. I said Sam Sirianni, legendary Fort Myers High School coach. Bill Kramer, legendary Naples coach. And I said Andy Anfield. And holy cow, did I get trashed by Southwest Florida for daring to put up a guy that took a team to a Sweet 16. What an idiot. I mean, I am the dumbest SOB in Southwest Florida. How I could be on the radio as long as I have been is truly remarkable, because I'm obviously the dumbest man in Southwest Florida, because I was beaten above the head and chest for that for several hours. And see, that's where I'm different. Dave, I don't care. I simply finally said to somebody, everybody gave me that he wasn't here long enough, and yet has the defining moment in Southwest Florida sports history. There is no other moment before and after that will be bigger than FGCU going to the Sweet 16. The Today Show is not showing up for any of these high school coaches. As great as they are, and their accomplishments are incredible. I will say I was schooled in some of the coaches and what they've done. The Swim Florida guy. Someone mentioned the late cross-country coach at Estero. I'm like, oh, yeah, him. Because I used to see him running with his kids every day on the way to work when I was doing mornings at the other place. And I still see those kids in the Estero program running by my house on occasion because of the program that he developed. And there are so many of these different coaches that are mentioned that I really don't know, basketball and baseball and football. But it just shows the importance of the high school coach, because this touched people in our area who were born and raised here and who were influenced by these men and women in our community that took the time that they did to coach particularly young men, because that's who listens to our show. And that's what I laughed at how much I was beaten up about the infield thing, and I'm joking a bit. But the other side of it is just how important all of these coaches have been on so many people in Southwest Florida. That's the way I took it, is that when you start mentioning coaches, and particularly high school, people get personal because it's their coach.
There are very few times in which I miss writing columns. Yesterday afternoon became one of those times because of how many people were chiming in with their opinions about both topics, to be honest with you. I mean, it was 2 columns yesterday. It was who's the 4th member of the state of Florida, Mount Rushmore, after Shula, Spurrier, and Bowden. And then locally, if we were to do one, because you could make the case each county could want their own.
I mean, that's kind of where Dave Dorsey, who has written for the News Press for quite a long time, he was, I guess, the spirit behind this, because he started chiming in, and his followers then jumped in. But Dave came to the conclusion yesterday that, yeah, Lee and Collier both have their own here, guys. And rightly so.
Too.
They don't count.
Well, they should.
Until they're in our market, David, I'm not I'm not recognizing them.
They should.
If Nielsen doesn't recognize them, I don't recognize them.
It's not their fault. It's not.
What is this, Goodwill Hunting?
They are one of us. All right? They are one of us. I believe in spirit. They are one of us.
That would be a poll question in and of itself. Do you consider Charlotte County one of us?
Be interesting to poll the folks of Charlotte County.
Exactly.
You identify more with the counties to your south, or do you identify more with the counties to your north?
Or do you just hate both of them?
Do you want to be Sarasota Bradenton, or do you want to be Lee and Collier?
They want to be their own thing, in my opinion.
Okay.
They want to be Charlotte Northport.
Fair enough. They got their own spring training team.
Exactly.
Right.
Braves Rays. They don't need us.
No. Man, we're just firing out poll questions this week. I mean, most weeks we struggled. Now this week we've got too many.
And we still don't have one up. And we'll spend the entire break trying to determine which poll question we're going to go with and argue about that. So I would advise you, twitch.tv, Miller and Moulton, youtube.com/Miller and Moulton. The commercial breaks could be good today. We got to get David out of this funk, and I'm going to need all of you to help.
I don't know if it's a funk. It's just, it's been 8 weeks. 8 weeks today was when the sports world shut down. Today's the first day in the 8 weeks in which it's getting out of bed and what have you. And actually, I didn't wake up this way. I woke up fine. All right.
What did I do to you?
Wife and I got into it a little bit at 5:30, in which I just said, "Listen, I don't need Sirius."
It's her fault?
Well, no, it's my fault. But
do I got to send the cookies back for her?
No, don't. Whatever you do. First off, they won't make it past me. She's the one working from home. I'm the one manning the dog, getting the mail and all that stuff. There's no way you send the cookies back that those cookies are making it past the front lines of defense here.
Well, I got the biggest guilt trip ever last night after the daughter went to bed, because the wife and I are having a glass of wine, and I saw those cookies. And there's the chocolate cookies with the white chocolate chips that look flippin' delicious.
Sure they are.
I don't know, because I went to grab one with the wine last night, and my wife just looked at me and she goes, "Those are Maddie's cookies."
Whoa, come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Nothing. Zip, zilch, nada.
They're not Maddie's cookies. It's a gift for a Maddie occasion, but come on now. I mean, those were cookies for the household.
Not according to my wife, and particularly not according to my daughter. who, as you know, has come up with a plan of how these cookies are going to be eaten over the course of the next 2 weeks. She has a very precise plan, and apparently me eating them is not a part of that plan.
Just a couple? I mean, she doesn't allow for discretionary eating, like discretionary spending. You may need to work that into the 6-year-old's plan. Honey, there's a thing called discretionary eating.
Here's the problem. Every flavor is in its own bag.
Oh.
So if I open those, I'm opening 3 cookies, and I'm busted. Unless I take down all 3, in which case I still think I'd be busted.
First off, you give one to the wife, you do the other 2. Boom. It's a team effort.
Not when the wife's coming out against you.
That's true. Man.
Tough treading last night for a snack.
That is tough.
Tough treading.
You figured she had your back. You were betrayed. Oh, that hurts. Miller and Moulton. 21 minutes past the hour on this first Thursday of the month of May. I spent most of 2018 and 2019 talking about, man, this year's flying by.
Right.
Haven't heard me say that once in 2020.
Nope.
Have you?
Nope. And I haven't done the Hugh Downs 2020 in 7 weeks.
No, you really haven't. No. I will say this. Remember at the end of 2019, my wife had determined that that's it for the Christmas letter? Another Christmas
making
letter.
A comeback?
Oh, it's making a comeback. There may be a mid-season letter.
They're going to be a Memorial Day letter, David.
There may be a Memorial Day letter. There may be a July 4th letter. There may be a Labor Day letter. We may it may be Christmas letter volume 1, Christmas letter volume 2. Oh, yeah.
A 4th of July letter really makes a lot of sense. Do you have, because I have a couple of friends who send out the New Year's card to be different. The New Year's letter or the New Year's card, because they don't want to get caught in the midst of everyone else's Christmas card. So they have found a way to be different.
Right. It just
whatever.
Put the attention on me is what they're saying.
Yes, I am more important than all of the rest of your friends. Right. Pay attention to me.
Me. Right.
The 4th of July letter screams that. But I think it would come from you. If it came from you, I think everybody who receives it would not look at it as a look at me. It would be, man, I needed this. I needed a good laugh mid-year.
And I have always kept the letter to 1 page. And I looked at my wife last night and said, I don't think it's possible to keep it to 1 page. Just so you know, I don't know how folks feel. How stories need to be a certain length of time. We talk about games need to fit into certain windows. Usually if you go beyond 1, it's kind of like a resume, Mark. For the longest time, you couldn't have your resume be more than 1 page. Now, apparently, you're allowed to have multiple pages. But when you and I were breaking into our businesses, it was considered obnoxious. And you better figure out a way to put it all on 1 page. And I just don't know if it could be a 1-page letter at this point. I mean, come on. It's a worldwide pandemic, for goodness sakes. Our stories have stories.
Well, not just is it a worldwide pandemic, your wife hasn't left the house basically in 3 months.
Well, 2.
Well,
I got her to see her mother last weekend.
Yeah, outside. But she was, this is 8 weeks for most of us. It's like 12 for her. She was ahead of the curve. She was flattening the curve before we had heard of a curve.
Correct. Right. She was the curve. Right. I mean, she was the only one who was curving. That's how far out ahead of it she was.
We were all drag racing. She was curving.
She was curving. All right. We thought that she was at the back of the lead lap. Turns out she was in the front. She was in the lead. None of us knew it. Right.
Brent Sobleski will join us from Bleacher Report to talk about the NFL schedule. David mentioned Dave Wanstad will join us in the 8 o'clock hour, as will Mike Griffith, covers the SEC and college football for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Pretty solid show lined up because here's the deal. Guests have nothing to do either.
Right.
Even in the morning, guests are saying yes.
Yes. Once the games start again, we'll never get any of these guys. But right now, they're bored.
Out of their minds.
And so that's why they're coming on Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Going to be a lively commercial break for those of you on Twitch. And we'll have a poll question in the starting 5 coming up. Thanks for being with us. here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Receiving.
Alexa, play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
All right, what are we going with here?
His greatness. Kevin Durant's a better player.
Well, you want to go with
I don't know that one.
Smart speaker.
go with your thing.
All right.
Sounds more like a dumb speaker, am I right?
You're an idiot. Nice job.
Get Southwest
So what is
Florida
it?
Sports Talk delivered to your
Handshake,
speaker.
bro hug.
Just say, Alexa,
David, how
play
are the
Fox
two
Sports
people in
FM.
Georgia not in jail yet?
Something worthwhile.
You not seen this?
Oh yeah.
What the?
Understands we're all living a new normal. To any of our customers currently facing financial burdens,
We can open up our state and we can also shoot people if they're not the right color.
We're here to help. Like
Wow.
our neighbor, State Farm. is
Only
there.
driven through Brunswick 6,000 times.
The name you need to know is D.R. Martineau. You can count on us for great service. You can count on us to get it done.
What are we gonna? Which of these are we looking forward to doing the most?
That's fair. The quality is second to
What is it? Handshake.
Which of
bro
these will
hug?
you do first?
roofing. The name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Galliana Kia.
Which
So
of these?
handshake,
Which of these
bro
are you
hug.
most looking
Taking
forward to
precautions
doing
keep you and
again?
your family safe with dealer-to-door
Right.
delivery.
Handshake,
Plus,
bro
we're making
hug.
deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease. Zero down.
God, I want to
$149
put
per month.
Biden
Yes,
hug on there, but I'm
Kia
not
for
going
zero
to.
down. $149
Come
per
on,
month.
that's
Loaded
reasonably
luxurious
funny.
Grand Cherokee Limited lease. Zero
It
down.
is.
$269 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Zero down.
What was your last
$269
answer?
per month. Plus, Galliana gives you
I'm done with this, or
interest-free
none of
financing
these,
up to
or
84 months.
what?
No
You had a
payments up to
catchy
120
phrase
days
there.
And prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239.
Yeah, what did I say? I'm done with all this?
Yep, I think that's it.
42-month lease on Jeep, 36
Done
months,
with all of
10,000
it.
miles per year, zero due at signing, plus first month tax, tag title, doc, and dealer fee, zero security deposit with lender approval.
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring, that's for sure.
Streaming 24/7 at foxsportsfm.com.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace from Creel Tractor Company. We are open for business and taking all precautions necessary. We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery. And the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and no payments for 90 days on new products. Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Right now, get 0% financing and no payments for 90 days. Offer expires May 31st. Visit KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Creel Tractor since 1972.
That's a way. Get that kid in the ad.
You own a home with
Justify
a
that
tile or shingle
14
roof?
grand a year you
You
can
live
stick into his
between
account
Fort Charlotte
tax free.
and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson, with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground. And you may very
You know,
well
okay,
be
music
entitled
with a
to new
good
roof
suggestion
for
there.
little
We already
money
did
out
that
of
one though, didn't we?
But you
Or no, I guess we
Yeah,
kind of.
we've done it.
Make a claim.
We've done it
Time is
in
running
two
out.
different ways.
Yeah.
Tile or
And-
shingle
and-
roof
and
live
okay, it's
between
already
Fort
up, so
Charlotte and
thank
Marco
you,
Island.
but
Call us.
I wasn't paying attention.
239-283-2013. It's a free, no obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have
I just had a
experts
nice
standing by
mood
to
going
get
this
claims
morning.
approved. 239
My wife was a little too intense at 5:30, and I was just like, you gotta just back off.
Yeah, see, the good news is that my wife sleeps now later, so we don't communicate in the morning at all. I love my routine in the morning.
really care.
Little walk with Frank, nice full moon this morning.
She's got migraines this morning, so
really do care about helping people, and we're so glad.
I probably should have realized that.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about what we do.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafora, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny.
I do get a chuckle every time I hear that part of the ad. Don't be a spreader. And I'm thinking about, you know, the lawn equipment in which they're just, you know, firing out seed or whatever it is, you know. I mean,
COPD. All these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands. Be careful. Don't be a spreader.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
It's 6:30. Straight up. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming, as we do every show on this station, at foxsportsfm.com. And you could be looking live, Brent Musburger, at Miller and Moulton on their Twitch and YouTube channels. 479-5551. So you can always chime into the show, either by texting in or calling in to the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551. We got a poll question?
We do.
Ready?
We do have a poll question.
Okay.
And, it's interesting because I played golf yesterday, David, and was introduced to someone. And I don't know how people, I said this before. Last week when I played, guy was introduced to me for the first time, new member, and put the hand out. Like I said, like you and I talked about. I will still shake someone's hand if they put it out. Sorry that you think I'm bad because it's just the way I was raised. Yesterday, I was introduced to someone. I kind of walked up and I go, I don't know where you're at. He threw the elbow, and I'm like, hey, I'm okay with that. I'll give you the elbow, whatever you're comfortable with.
Right.
But on that note, which of these are you most looking forward to doing again? The handshake, the bro hug, or David Staple, just the good old-fashioned hug?
Come on. Come into the big fella here.
Or are you Howie Mandel, and I'm just done with all of it?
Right. You'll be lucky if you get a dab. You'll be lucky if you get an elbow from now on.
I mean, are you the person that says, the one thing that's positive that came out of this pandemic is that I'll never have to touch a human being again?
I think we're going to have to name the elbow. What hockey player should we name the elbow after? Could think about it. All of you, feel free.
The Claude Lemieux?
But, I was thinking like the Barnaby. 479-5551.
He's such
give me
a punk.
Player that
he's such a punk.
Well, it could be. But give me somebody, Tikkanen. I don't know. Give me somebody who's not necessarily a fighter either. It's just a guy who was very physical, played tough, was scrappy.
Clark Gillies?
Clark. Clark Gillies. A Bobby Clark.
Gerard Gallant? It's got to be French. I'm sorry. I can't have this be.
The Gallant? We'll say it's got a nice ring to it. All right. How about the Gordie Howe? All right. In honor of the original hat trick. I mean, there's somebody like that. Somebody big and tough. It doesn't have to be a fighter, though. Just somebody who did, the elbows, now, Mark, you're not allowed to play that way. I mean, for the longest time, you could go into the corner with the elbow high. I mean, that was your way of saying hi. Hey,
right.
Just let you know that I'm here. So, think about it. I think we should name the elbow. If that's the way we're going to be dabbing in the future, I think we should name it. Hey, here you go. Hey, good to see you. Give it a Gallant. There you go. Hey, how about a Howe? There, all right. Yeah, good.
Gotcha.
And maybe, Mark, this will be something in which, depending on where you are, on Long Island, it'll be the Gillies. In Michigan, it'll be the Howe. We can just, go all around. I don't know.
I think it's time now for
the starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton's starting five. Fox Sports Radio and foxsportsfm.com.
I let that go a little longer than I normally would with that, David, because you were in a little bit of a funk from 6 to 6:20, and you got so excited about naming the elbow that I'm like, you know what? He just got himself out of his bad mood. I'm going to let him run with this, but I have no idea what the hell he's talking about right now.
In fact, if I was the NHL, I'd make it part of a marketing promotion.
Now that's actually, now you're on to something.
In which they'd say, we have a new way of greeting one another, as do we here in the NHL. And they show all sorts of highlights of guys going into the corner high and hard and all that. I don't know. It's something to think about. Hey, Major League Baseball is apparently finalizing their proposal that they're going to send to the Players Union. And it's pretty much along the lines of second week of June, get your to Florida and Arizona, and you're going to have about 3 weeks to get it ready, and then right around July 1st, July 4th, something like that, we're going to be playing games. The biggest part of the proposal, reportedly, is that forget all this, we're going to play in Arizona or we're going to play in Florida or the Arizona, Florida, Texas proposal. No, apparently home teams and home stadiums. That's part of the plan. Mark, don't you think this is going to be the beginning test of what we are debating in college football? Because the debate this week in college football is not whether or not is the sport going to go forward. It's whether or not is the sport going to go forward with all of the schools. Could there be, and we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, you could see where in the Big Ten you could have 13 of the 14 schools, but if Rutgers said, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, we can't play this year. I mean, could you blame them?
No.
I mean, not with the way the numbers are today.
I mean, that's the thing about this that, Anita Marks, who's been on our show a lot, posted something yesterday. She's in Jersey and had the actual numbers in Jersey and then how many people had pre-existing. But the fact of the matter is that Jersey and New York are different than everywhere else.
Right.
They just are.
Now, fortunately, that's not a college football hotbed. And I mean, literally, the sport could exist without the Northeast.
I
mean,
get it.
outside of Penn State, it could exist.
But
I mean, it really could.
But you're talking about a baseball season coming back and playing at home.
Well, and that's why I mentioned that the first test of this, if this is in fact Major League Baseball's proposal, you could see where the Yankees and the Mets are like, I don't know if we can do this. Or put it this way, you may have to schedule us for July on the road. And maybe we back end our home games. We have a lot of September home games, if you know what I mean. So this will be the first test. If see which way Major League Baseball goes in terms of their scheduling with some of the teams, even, I don't know, the Tigers, are they going to want to start up as early as July 1st? Never mind a few of the California teams. So I do think it will be interesting what Major League Baseball ultimately proposes and what amendments they make to their schedule, depending on where some of the hot spots are. It could give us a big clue as to where and what schools maybe are not going to be ready for the beginning of the college football season. Along those lines, James Franklin, Penn State head coach, gave an interview yesterday in which he wondered, one, could conferences go forward without certain schools? He thought yes. He thought this was a year in which, and he specifically mentioned Rutgers. He goes, could the Big Ten go forward this year without Rutgers playing football? Yeah, I think they could. But he mentioned the interesting topic, in my estimation, Mark, which is, okay, what if you have the SEC and maybe the ACC that's ready to go for the quote-unquote beginning of the season? But you've got one or two of the other conferences who are like, hey, we need a month. We're not ready when you are. He goes, so how are we going to do that? And are we then going to have a playoff if we do it that way? We may not even be done in time for the playoff. He goes, so that's the part of the scheduling that's going to interest him. He thinks we can have a regular season, but he doesn't know if we can get everybody on the same timeline.
You know what college football needs? Lucky Luciano. They do. Lucky Luciano, the gangster, was the one that got the commission and got the 5 families to sit down and broker things. College football needs a Lucky Luciano. And I wonder if you and I have been advocating for some sort of commissioner of college football for at least a half decade, if not more. I wonder if through this, David, we actually come closer. And I know you have said and maintained, and I know you're probably right, that no college conference commissioner is going to give up their power.
Correct.
However,
never happened.
I don't know.
Never happened. There is no way. You could get the SEC and the Big Ten to form an alliance against the other 3. All right. I could see that. I could see a consolidation of power amongst the powerful. But I don't ever think, there's no way that I see the SEC and the Big Ten allowing the other Power 5 conferences to A, be on equal footing with them, and B, they're going to give up some kind of say to somebody else. I don't see it.
It's not say so much, David, and you just said it, why and how it would happen. If the Big Ten and SEC form an alliance, the other three conferences may have no choice but to come with them or go away in terms of big boy sports. That's the only reason why I think it could happen. And that, maybe it's wishful thinking on my part, David, but I do believe out of this and the craziness that's going to go on between now and August with everybody figuring out what they're doing on their own, that maybe somebody may have enough brains to say we can't go through something like this ever again, not being on the same page. That's all.
Well, we could debate one day as to how it would go, but my gut feeling is that the SEC and Big Ten would say, fine, we'll do it, but we each get 2 votes, and you 3 only get 1. So that if we agree on something, we've got you 4-3. Just telling you right now. And, Mark, I nominate Tim Brando for Lucky Luciano because he's all over this. Timmy B would love it.
Yeah, but Timmy B would never – you got the wrong guy. Timmy B likes Conference USA too much to allow the Power 5 to do their own thing. He's flying the ointment guy, and I know that's a hoop thing, but –
yeah, but I don't know. You give Timmy B that big a platform, I think he could change his tune. Come on, Mark. That's Timmy B with an open mic.
Boy, that'd be a long meeting.
A bunch of them. Pressers would be good, though. NFL is going to release their schedule tonight at 8 o'clock. The word is non-conference games will be played first. Folks, that means if you're a Bucs fan, Mark, pay attention. You've got season tickets. The Bucs play the AFC West. Now, if Kansas City, starting at home because they're the Super Bowl champions, so that means, in theory, Tampa Bay is going to open up at either at the Raiders, at the Broncos, or what I think is going to happen, they're going to open up at home against the LA Chargers on Sunday Night Football. That's my prediction tonight. Tampa Bay opens up at home against the LA Chargers on Sunday Night Football. The Dolphins,
good, because that's the first game. It'll mean the ticket's worth more, and of all the games I had zero interest in, the Chargers was at the top of the list.
Well, and that's why, as we've seen, you can schedule anybody. I mean, the first game, however many fans are going to allow in a Ray J, that's exactly how many will be there. You know, we're going to have a new definition of packed, Mark. Let's face it. I mean, packed's going to be 12-2, but whatever it is, that's what they're going to have. It also means, Dolph fans, that you're going to open up against the NFC West. If, in fact, what they're saying is true, that they will open with the non-conference games. Did you hear about this Earl Thomas story? Just came out overnight.
No.
Earl Thomas, longtime Seahawks standout, now with the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. Held at gunpoint by his wife in mid-April. They got into an argument. He went out to have a drink with his buddy. Then he went over to see his mistress.
Well, that'll usually do it. I mean, that's very, very good fellas there.
Yeah, she tracked him down, got his gun, and went over. And there's video of her with a gun to his head. Fortunately, nothing else happened besides that. And, well, she was arrested and charged, and she now has a restraining order against her. But that's the Earl Thomas story that came out overnight. Meanwhile, we told you earlier in the week about the Brett Favre story, in which the state of Mississippi had an audit. And you're not going to believe this, but there's corruption within state government in Mississippi. Part of the corruption is $94 million, which was supposed to go to those in need, did not go to those in need. 1.1 million of that 94 million went to Brett Favre for speeches. He didn't make them. He got paid a check for $500,000 and a check for $600,000 for speeches over 6 months that he did not make. When word came out, Brett Favre has had no comment except yesterday to announce he is repaying the state of Mississippi the $1.1 million. No other comment, though. But he is repaying the state the money.
Someone's going to jail.
It's not going to be Brett Favre, though. In fact, the state has made sure to say nothing. He hasn't been charged. All right. Once he had no idea that this is where the money was coming from, which that I agree with. I could see that. But he had no idea that the money was intended, that the money was part of a scheme, if you know what I mean.
So he just thought someone was paying him $1 million for the hell of it?
Well, he obviously knew about his end of the scheme. He didn't know where it originated from. You could see that. Where if I say to you, hey, Mark, I got a way for you to make this money and this, these speeches that you don't have to make. It's kind of like the construction union job that you don't have to show up for. All right. And you don't realize that I'm getting the money from a $94 million slush fund that was going to the needy. You just know that I'm getting it from somewhere. You just don't know where.
Okay. I'm sorry. You tell me I'm going to start giving you money for something you don't have to do.
Right.
And I'm already a multimillionaire. And I'm getting all kinds of money. I mean, I'm basically turned into Peyton Manning light. If it's not a good enough ad for Peyton, they give it to Brett. So I can go play some flag football with something wrapped around my wrist or my ankle. I mean, basically they go Brett or they go Peyton, Joe, Montana. And then if Montana won't do it, because he'll advertise damn near anything. Weed, Skechers, it doesn't. I mean, Joe will take an ad.
No, it's true. It's right. It's Peyton, it's Joe Montana, and then it's Favre with a side of Jerry Rice.
Thank you. You got to where I was going to next, and we can throw the ball around and play against some guys in a field. But I'm going to pay you $1 million for doing nothing, and I'm just going to say yes. David, I am sorry. Brett Favre, I would be I don't care what Mississippi said. He should be going to jail. It's $1 million.
Listen, Mark, I said he knew he was part of a scam. He just didn't realize what scam. Do you think he asked the question, hey, where's this money coming from? No, I don't think he did.
But the fact that Mississippi has just come up, and we're not going to go after Brett Favre because he's Brett Favre.
And you're surprised by this? Come on.
I am a little surprised at $1 million, and we're just basically saying, no, Brett, just pay it back. It's okay.
Yeah, well,
I'm a little surprised. Yeah, I'm a little surprised, David.
Seems to be what's going on here. A couple of final notes. East Tennessee State decided to promote the longtime assistant. Jason Shea is going to get the job. He had assisted Steve Forbes over the last 5 years. Forbes took the entire rest of the coaching staff with him to Wake Forest. Shea has to start from scratch. And Mark, finally, I know most people don't pay attention to college baseball, but the reason I bring this up is because usually the big boys are doing the flipping from the little guys. Yesterday on the recruiting trail, FGCU flipped a commitment to Florida State. A 6'2" outfielder and right-hand pitcher, Najer Victor, who was originally committed to Florida State, changed his commitment to FGCU yesterday, considered a top recruit. So thought it was noteworthy. And that is your starting five.
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton's starting five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
11 minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
I look at Bill O'Brien. I don't think he's a very good GM. And because of that, he might not be a good coach because of the moves he makes as a general manager. It feels like he overpays for a lot of things or doesn't get value in return. Like he's one of those guys. He's like Jason Garrett. You win just enough where you go, man, can't fire him.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Cortec that you have. You also have other Cortec products as well.
We also carry the Cortec Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Cortec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Cortec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com.
Houston just dumped a show on their ESPN station. They just gassed their midday guys.
Yeah, he did. He was doing 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, there's two of them. Barry Lemanik and Raheel Rez, whatever.
I saw Raheel,
but they
don't they follow Salisbury?
I think it said they were 1 to 4.
Oh, okay.
But just, you know what I'm thinking with that.
Dan Martineau.
I mean, it's going to start happening everywhere.
We're still
the Nationals?
a lot of roofs
No, the local shows that are going to just
and to get replaced by National.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean. At some point, how much money can they lose across the street before they do it?
No. Too much ego involved. Too much ego involved. Last name part of the show. Nope.
Alexa,
Receiving. Over.
play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
Nope. If we weren't here, we would have already done it.
Frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors. My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myShowerDoor.com.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace from Creel Tractor Company. We are open for business and taking all precautions necessary. We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery. And the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here.
I think, this guy on Twitch says, Michigan guy that hated Woody but respected him. Do you have fans like Bowden? Do FSU fans respect Spurrier? Yeah. Yeah, they do.
Creel Tractor since 1972.
Yeah, they don't like him though.
They don't like him, but I'd have to ask Florida fans, but I think there's probably, Bobby was easier to like if you were a Florida fan than Steve was if you were a Florida State fan. Because Steve liked to poke the bear. It didn't matter which bear it was, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida State, and he's. But FSU, Free Shoes University. I mean, that's just who the man is.
It is part of his charm. I mean, when he took over the Redskins, he goes, yeah, saw the guy in New Orleans. He came out the other day, said he's 16, 18 hours in the office. Well, must not be doing any good. He went 6 and 10. He's talking about Jim Haslett. I mean, it was beautiful.
I mean, if Spurrier would have worked at Washington, it would have changed the sport. Because he was still on the golf course.
Yep, totally.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
Would have been great.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
6 minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Make sure you go to foxsportsfm.com and vote. We are down to The Sopranos versus Breaking Bad as the most binge-worthy TV show of all time. Go to vote. foxsportsfm.com. It's brought to you by Jimmy P's Chard, France Eye Care, Brooks Burgers, and Kobe Cooley.
Text lines are full in both the Twitch chat room and at the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line. The poll question today is very simple. It is just a good old, you ready to get back to a bro hug, a handshake, a hug, a David Moulton broad-shouldered hug?
Come on, bring it in here.
Or are you Howie Mandel and you're done with all of it now?
Right.
Texter says, I'm a hugger. I can't wait to be back hugging my people.
My people.
Tommy on Twitter says, Mark, I just want to be able to go back to being social. Seeing a friend bro hugging and not acting like I have the plague. Most people hate me, but damn it, I am missing those cranky bastards.
And you know that's just how guys are going to greet one another. I missed you, you cranky. Come in here. Bring it in. There you go.
I've got a Messier vote for the elbow, David. You wanted to name the elbow. And that is a very... Messier was such a great player that his dirtiness is often not talked about because he was the man's nickname was Moose. He was a big man, is a big man. And he was a chippy son of a gun.
Yes, he was.
I have a Dave Schultz reference as well that goes back a little bit for the Flyers. I mean, he didn't just elbow you. He elbowed you, dropped the gloves, and beat you into the ground.
Right. See, that's a fighter. I think you got to name it after somebody who was also a good all-around player, like to call it the Howe.
Yeah, well, that's
the Gordy.
That's not enough. You can't do that to Gordy. I like the mess. There was a Tim Kerr reference in the Twitch chat room.
Oh,
see, now that's a good reference.
Oh,
you got it. But you are. I got a Rick Tocchet here, another solid reference. I mean, these are the type of players, and we're really going to kill this show if we start naming obscure NHL players. But
Tim Kerr was like an eclipse in front of the net. He was so big. Just stood there on the power play. Goalies couldn't see. Number 12 for the Flyers. I do find it interesting. We've had 4 Flyers references right out of the chute.
I find it interesting that we were able to get you out of a funk by naming an elbow. This show could get derailed because we're talking too much hockey, but I don't care because David Moulton's mood changed the minute we talked about naming the elbow.
I'm the one that came up with it.
I know, but you were in a funk for the first 20 minutes, and once we came up with naming the elbow, the man was on fire. So name the elbow. Bring it. Text, tweet, YouTube. We don't care. Just name the damn elbow.
Need a checkup? Call the doctor.
For to name that tune, we've got name that elbow.
Name that elbow.
I can name that elbow in 2 seconds.
And I never smell food up here, but my wife is making breakfast right now, and it smells delicious. Ma, meatballs!
For over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio remembers the greatest coach in NFL history, Don Shula.
Says a lot of the type of person that he was more concerned about the health of his players.
Yesterday when we were doing the coach of the local coaches, some guy on the text line sent in Dave Balza with a laughing emoji. And I mean, I don't swear on the thing, and I just said F, the whole word. That is funny. I laughed. I forgot something happened. You got up to get something to drink or whatever. I saw that, and I mean, I almost lost it on air.
To do something about it.
Turns out,
God, that's funny.
Cataract surgeons in the world are right here in our area at Community Eye Center.
We really care about improving people's lives by improving their vision.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafor really do care about helping people, and we're so glad they helped us.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about what we do.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands, be careful, don't be a spreader.
WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 94.1 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com. There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug crew.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it. Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Seven o'clock hour of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday, the 7th of May. So it's the first Thursday of the month. It was 8 weeks ago today that the sports world began shutting down minute by minute. That was 8 weeks ago. How long does it seem? And I mention that time frame because let's face it, Mark, it's going to be double that period of time until the NFL season is expected to kick off. That schedule announcement will come tonight, but the season normally kicks off on the Thursday after Labor Day, which this year is September 10th. So think about how long it has been between when the sports world shut down on Thursday, March 12th to now. That's been 8 weeks. Well, double that time frame. And that's how much time there is between now and the expected start of the NFL season, and almost that long until what is the expected start of the college football season. But then again, who knows? It's sounding as if there's a football season that is going to start late right now, it is more likely to be the one on Saturdays and not the one on Thursdays, Sundays, Mondays.
Although with the schedule coming out with the NFL, and it has been leaked out in a lot of places that they are going to put the non-conference games at the beginning of the schedule, and the reason behind that is if they have to go from 16 to 12, it makes the most sense to eliminate the non-conference games because they are really not a part of the playoff structure for tiebreakers.
Right.
So it is the games that could most easily be eliminated to keep the continuity of the NFL season and schedule the same as what we're used to.
Tampa Bay opens up, well, we think they're going to open up with an AFC West opponent because the NFC West plays the NFC South, plays the AFC West this year. The Dolphins in the AFC East, their crossover division is the NFC West. So when the schedules come out in a little more than 12 hours' time, the expectation is the Bucs will play someone from the AFC West to start their season, and the Dolphins will play someone from the NFC West to start their season. My prediction, since Kansas City is going to have the opener, that the Bucs, one of their first three opponents is obviously going to be Raiders, Broncos, Chargers. Well, the Chargers one is the only home game of the three. I think the NFL is going to want to make as big a deal as possible out of Tom Brady in a Buccaneers uniform. I think we're going to see Bucs Chargers on Sunday Night Football.
Okay, just work with me. You may be right. That's the one possibility. We know Kansas City's not happening because they're going to be at home. Vegas is playing their first home game.
Ooh.
Brady at Vegas?
On Sunday night, too.
On Sunday night. John Gruden, the former Tampa coach, against Tom Brady and the Bucs. There's a nice storyline there. There's a lot of extra. When you said that, it makes sense. But if they're going to Vegas, which is one of the two, they're going to play. The two road games are going to be Vegas and Denver.
Right. How about this? How about you're on to something with the NFL will want to make a big deal for Vegas. Do you give Vegas Monday night?
And do you give them Atlanta?
Right. Do you give someone not Tampa Bay? So if you're the NFL, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can get the Bucs on Sunday Night Football, and you get Vegas's debut on Monday Night Football.
And And I don't know if it's going to be New Orleans or Atlanta. I just haven't looked at their schedules of who's the Roman Hode, which one. But because then you would get then you'd get the Chargers at Tampa. You could get Denver at New Orleans, and what you've done is you've really eliminated the marquee games crossover between the division in week 1. As David says, this is a lot like the opening day of baseball. It doesn't matter.
No.
What team you put there, the place is going to be packed, and everybody's going to be watching. We always joke around that our favorite attendance day in the league is day 2.
Right.
When you have 42,000.
Right, on Monday. The Jake is filled to capacity, whatever capacity is. And then Tuesday night, they play the Blue Jays again in front of 79-13.
Exactly. So this is where week 1, it doesn't matter who you play.
No.
Carolina at Kansas City, it doesn't sound all that great. You watching?
Yeah. Duh. Yeah, like I said, they play an NAIA school. I'm watching that game. Are you kidding me? Man, oh man. 479-55-51. Am I watching?
Put it this way, they'd have put that West Florida tour event on Monday on the Golf Channel. We'd have been watching.
I don't know why they didn't. I don't know why Morning Drive wasn't live from it, to be honest with you. They had 2 of the top 100 players in the world at the damn thing. I mean, what the hell else you got going on? It's not that far a drive from Orlando either. They could have been there in 2 hours to set up. My goodness, what were they thinking? Sleep at the switch there. Man, oh man. Mark, I was a little disappointed with you. You weren't giving me play-by-play as to how things were going. At least give me a website so I could have followed it.
Right. Man. I was teaching. I apologize. Yet, damn kindergarten getting in the way again.
Can't believe it. They could have done Morning Drive into live coverage of the damn event at least.
Right. They weren't allowing fans, but if I would have driven and put it on Twitch and just gotten the word out, I bet you we would have quadrupled our Twitch subscriptions. Just because
would have had everyone in the golf community following us. They're doing live golf. Where is it? It's at some course in Sarasota.
It's in Sarasota. Why is he following Matt Hutchins when there's 2 tour pros out there?
Who the hell's Matt Hutchins? I don't know, but he's got a 15-footer for birdie. All right.
Can I sponsor him?
Says it breaks from right to left. What are these guys' names? Where are they from?
Who cares?
Yeah.
We were watching Korean baseball an hour ago, for crying out loud.
I mean, the choices, Ravitch and Perez or Miller and Moulton. I mean, at least Miller and Moulton are at their event. And Ravitch and Perez are doing theirs from a studio. One's in Florida, one's in Connecticut. They're broadcasting off a monitor of a sport that's taking place 6,000 miles away. That is the one thing that I do believe we're going to see a lot more of this year. And it started to happen a couple seasons ago, late in a college basketball season, which very quietly, a few of the networks stopped traveling broadcasters. Now, they had some crew at the game, a producer and a director, 5 camera people and a small truck. And the game was being produced on site, but it was being broadcast from Bristol. 2 guys in a closet watching the game on a monitor. And they were broadcasting it live.
And have they ever sent the third person there in any of these? I mean, do they keep a sideline person there and then leave 2 guys in the closet doing color and play-by-play?
Now, I'll be honest, I don't know. I know a lot of times on those smaller college basketball broadcasts, they don't have a third person. It has been kicked around, nowadays. If we don't have people in the stands, does it matter? Will we have sideline reporters? Now, I don't think it matters whether you have 1 person or 80,000 in the stands. I don't think their job has anything to do with the crowd. But there has been some discussion about, if we're doing social distancing and this, that, and the other thing, will we have sideline reporters at football games?
Well, I've learned from you on this more than anything. So I'm going to steal things that you've told me, and because of that, I've paid attention. Some work really hard at their jobs and others don't. Some grind. Some know trainers. Some get really good information
right?
Because they've been at it a long time and they have their reputation has worked them through the people that they're trusted by somebody. And they actually get you good stuff. Stuff that cannot be delivered from anyone else in the broadcast.
Anywhere else. Right. And
So-
anywhere else.
Yeah, so I can't imagine not having the Tracy Wolfsons of the world and the ones that are out getting us information as part of the broadcast. They're, to me, a critical part of it. And to not have a college football sideline reporter so I can at least have one coach have a mental breakdown on the way to the halftime, I can't live without that.
Well,
Can't live with a John L. Smith yelling at his kicker. I mean, these things stay with me for a long time.
Well, Mark, I agree with you. I think because the coach is such a big deal in college, and oftentimes highest paid employee in the state. And so, I mean, for goodness sakes, we've joked about, well, why do they have two sheriff's deputies on either side of them throughout the game? I mean, we've all, seen that and laughed. Wait a minute. They've got two sheriff's deputies traveling with the coach? Yeah, go everywhere they go, in fact. So I agree with you. I think we'll have the sideline reporter in college. Not so sure we'll have all the sideline reporters on Sundays, though. I'll be interested to see if the NFL, in talking about how many people are going to be on the sidelines and this, that, and the other thing, like the NFL sent out protocols quietly to the teams last night. Said these are the protocols you're going to have to follow for training and all that. Now, we keep saying there's a long time between now and training camp, never mind now and when the season starts. But right now, the NFL has sent out the protocols in which they're like, this is how we're going to have to do this when, in fact, we start doing it again.
Poll question today, a lot of little sidebars to today's show. We're going to get into the football area knee deep coming up in about 20 minutes. Interview after interview after interview. But there are some sidebars to today's show. One is our poll question, which is, which of these are you most looking forward to doing again? The handshake, the bro hug, the hug, or I'm done with all of it, which is winning by a mile.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah. Little over 4 in 10 are doing I'm done with it.
I voted for the handshake. I even gave a detailed answer on Twitter explaining my vote. I love me a handshake.
I still shake hands. If someone sticks their hand out, I am not going to say no. I'm comfortable if you say no to me. David and I have kind of said this before. We are not really handshake initiators during the pandemic, but we are not refusing the handshake when offered. Is that a fair statement on your part as well, David?
Yes, I will say, though, I'm trying to remember the last time somebody stuck their hand out and, wanted to I will say, it's funny you mentioned this. So the college basketball season is still going on. And it was FGCU women were in the ASUN tournament, and they were hosting all the games. And I remember on the Saturday before the world shut down, so I think we're talking the 7th of March, and the women won, and Coach Semesco came over to do a courtside interview on our postgame show. And I always shake his hand. And I shook his hand, and he didn't hesitate. Shook my hand back. They play the semifinal on Wednesday, the 11th, the night that Rudy Gobert, we found out, was tested positive. And so the NBA is shutting down as I'm broadcasting this game. And so they win. He comes over. It's a little after 9 o'clock. And we both just looked at one another, and we didn't shake each other's hand. Now, I've been interviewing Carl for 18 years.
Right.
I've shook his hand every single time I've talked to him for 18 years. We both just looked at one another and without saying a word, didn't shake each other's hand.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I've extended my hand or had somebody try to shake my hand since.
I've had a few. I have mostly gone elbow, but if like I said, someone sticks their hand out. Last week, I was introduced to someone and he reached his hand out. I'm not going to meet someone I'm sorry. That's not me. Think of me what you will. I've got sanitizer in the golf cart, in my car. I can go wash my hands after I do it, not touch my mouth after I shake someone's hand. But 43+% done with all of it.
Wow, 3 out of every 7 are saying, that's it? You're a Howie Mandel forever?
Not buying it. Not buying it.
All right. Okay, well, that's how they feel now. You know, these poll questions are a snapshot of this moment in time.
David, it's a fluid situation.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Thank you. At least you didn't say it's the new normal.
The other thing that's been going on our show today is that David, in the monologue, had a little bit of a funk.
A little bit.
I mean, it's the first time in which David's attitude, I sensed I needed to pick him up during the break, where I actually thought if you were listening, you go, wow, he's not in his normal chipper mood. And then we started talking about the elbow. And
Yes.
David decided he wanted to name the elbow after a hockey player. And I'm telling you, go back and listen to our second segment, and you can hear David's mood instantly change. I thought it was dribble radio, but I could hear the mood changing. So I just let the man roll. He went through 10, 12 players and talking different things. Right. And I don't even know if anybody was paying attention. But the man got himself in a good mood, so you let him roll. And from that, David, we have been getting a constant bombardment of players that they want to name the elbow. One guy just keeps giving more. Every once in a while, I got a Schultze at 6:34. I got a Mahavlich at 6:57.
Wow.
2 minutes later.
Which one, by the way? Which one? Frank or Pete? Huh?
Well, see, that's why I think you just call it Mahavlich, and I don't think you're disrespecting either brother.
What does it sound better? The Mahavlich. Does that sound better as an elbow or a sandwich?
Sandwich. When you said it, it sounds like a sandwich.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think
what do you want?
I wouldn't even go Denny's. I would go to a place like Fat Cats. That's a mom and pop place. You know, that's a locally owned thing that says, I've got the Mahavlich.
Fair enough. And what do you think is in a Mahavlich? Because that, to me...
Montreal smoked meat.
Yes,
Mustard.
Mustard,
meat. Swiss cheese.
Yes. Yeah, basically...
Toasted on pumpernickel.
It's a clogged artery is
Yes.
what it is. That's what I think a Mahavlich is.
But then he came back with the Boom Boom Jeffrey on.
That's solid.
Got another one that says, can I get a Cam Neely?
You know, you can get a Cam Neely. When can't you get a Cam Neely? I like it.
So
you know, I'm thinking the Howe, the Messier, the Gillies, you know, the Bobby Clark.
I really want a sandwich right now. I'm just telling you, all of this, as Johnny Mac says on Twitch, it's a Canadian grinder, and I want one. I want a Canadian grinder.
Now I'm hungry.
I'm starving. I said it. My wife, I never smell food up here. She made breakfast, and it is just oozing through the door. It's killing me.
When this show's over, I'm just going to pull up to a fast food place. I'm going to say, what do you want? I'm going to say the Mahavlich, just for my own enjoyment.
You think our buddy at Jersey Mike's could come up with a Mahavlich by noon?
Yes! I will text him right now.
Jim, I need a Mahavlich. I will drive to Fort Myers for a Mahavlich today.
Whatever you think a Mahavlich is.
Want a Mahavlich.
Put it on a giant.
Is a Mahavlich cold or hot?
I think it's cold. Come on. Hockey, is anything ever served hot? All right.
It's what it's come to, folks.
You know, it's a fine line if your name sounds like a sandwich or a drink. You know, it is. It's a fine line. Like
a Moulton would be a shot to me.
You think Moulton's a
shot? I mean, I'm just a beer. I am what I am.
Yeah. I
Moulton's a shot. Give me a Miller and a Moulton. That's a shot and a beer.
Yeah, and not anywhere near top shelf either.
No. It's like it's like a Canadian mist.
Yeah, it's a Canadian whiskey.
Yeah, it's just a
grab it.
Yeah,
Here
pour
go.
it here.
Yeah.
VO, whatever. Right.
Hey, guy at the end's buying drinks, and you reach over and you grab that bottle. What are you grabbing? You're grabbing a Moulton right there. Just filling them up. Yeah, spilling it on the bar while you're doing it. Yeah. Yep.
But a Mahavlich is a sandwich.
I think you should all think about that throughout your day today. Are you more of a sandwich or a drink? What do you think you sound like? Huh? Think about it. Don't have to answer right away. Just think about it. In fact, your answer may change. Would not shock me before lunch and after lunch, whether or not you change your mind as to what it is your name sounds like.
Brent Sobleski coming up. Sounds much more like a sandwich.
A Sobleski. Yeah, absolutely.
A Wonstat's for sure a sandwich.
You know what? It might be an elbow. You know what? Come to think of it, he's a defensive guy. He'd probably rather be an elbow.
In fact, you could argue that we have 3 sandwiches coming on the show. Sobleski, Wonstat, and a Griffith.
No, I think the Griffith's a drink.
Is it?
I think a Griffith's a drink.
It's either that or it's an open-faced hot sandwich, one or the other. I'm starving. This is not working well for me.
Oh,
I really wish Wally's delivered. I need a sandwich.
So our poll question, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. So what are you most looking forward to there doing again? The handshake, the bro hug, just a good old-fashioned hug. A hug. I'm a hugger. Or are you done with all of it? I can't believe done with all of it's winning. I'm going to make a prediction, Mark. We're going to have an uprising throughout the course of the day that people are going to say there's no way we can allow that to be the winning vote.
I hope so.
I think the handshake's going to win. I have not looked at the vote totals. I have no idea whether I'm in second or fourth place with my vote. But I voted a handshake. Nothing like a good, solid, not too firm, though. You don't want somebody, the person that shakes your hand just a little too hard and it actually kind of hurts at the end of the handshake. And you're thinking to yourself, dude, what are you trying to do here? It's a handshake. My grandfather had a friend, Mark, John Porter. Big, strong man. Best handshake. Right at the line. Solid, firm, didn't go too far. That was literally, John Porter taught me how to shake someone's hand. That was the handshake I was always trying to be, a John Porter, which sounds like a sandwich.
And a porter is actually a beer, but it does sound like a sandwich. I'm not going to say you're wrong, David. Not at all. And I'm really ticked off. Like Johnny Mac says, I'd rather be a cocktail, but I'm a sandwich. I want to be a sandwich. No one's ever ordered a Miller and gotten food in their life.
It sounds like we're getting dressed up for Halloween. I wanted to be a drink, Mom, and you're making me a sandwich.
Miller and Moulton. Breaking things down in ways you cannot imagine. It has been 8 weeks since sports, and oh my, do we need a game of some sort.
We're doing absolutely fine.
I will be broadcasting from the West Florida tour wherever they are next.
On Twitch. Right, to 11 of you, whether you want it or not. That's what you have to look for.
I mean, when I am really upset that my daughter will not read one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish on Twitch because I needed content. That's what we've come to. Like, I really need you to be doing this on camera, and I'm scared.
Well, we need to explain to her the pilot program, and we need 25 hours of programming a week. So you need to deliver your 12 minutes a day 5 times a week, because that's an hour, honey. All right? Need to teach her about contributing to the cause. Miller and Moulton. Brent Sobleski of Bleacher Report is next. Thanks so much for being with us, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
I feel like Tom right now feels supported. All the boxes are being checked that weren't checked in Tampa, including, I bet you, Jason Light, the general manager, talked to Tom. They had an hour phone call and said, listen, we need a right tackle. That's going to be our first pick. You think Belichick's telling Tom what his first pick's going to be? No.
Colin Cowherd. Weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Gotta go to Galliana.
Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers are taking every precaution to keep you and your family safe with dealer-to-door delivery. Plus, we're making deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease. 0 down, $149 per month. Yes, a new Kia for 0 down, $149 per month. Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease. 0 down, $269 per month. That's right, Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. 0 down, $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months, no payments for up to 120 days, and prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239-481-2600, GallianaCars.com. 42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles per year, 0 to it signing, plus first month tax, tag, title, doc, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664
Mark, did you
for more information.
see this?
Yes, I did.
Fan?
I did. You're never stuck on the water.
Pool need a
But
checkup? Call
there
the
it
doctor,
is.
The Pool Doctor.
Hi,
There
Dr.
it
Love
is.
here. Heat pumps take heat out of the air and put it in your pool. They cost less to run. than
Exactly.
gaskets, and you won't have
It's
penalties
the
on
tweet
your
that I sent
roof.
yesterday.
Special
There is
pricing,
nothing that will
free
happen
evaluations.
before Andy or after Andy that will be as impactful on Southwest Florida in our lifetime. There's no effing way, David. I've been here for 22 years. I'm only going to live for 30 more. No flipping way.
239-574-1133. State certified CPC.
Hopefully 35, but
I'm a busy person. Catch the show anytime. Check out Miller and Moulton.
let me know when we're a minute away, Jero.
We've got our
Okay,
good friend Tim
Savage.
Meister, owner of the
That's
Four Meisters
interesting.
in Naples, on the phone.
The
We're talking about
suggestion,
their
Randy
huge
Macho
selection
Man
and great
Savage
pricing on
had
Cortec
the
flooring.
flying
Tim,
elbow drop.
tell
Could
us
we
what's
call
new
it
at
the
store.
Savage?
Right
No.
now we have 90 colors.
He's not a hockey
Cortec
player.
in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it.
And I'm ticked off because Johnny Mac, I switched to DirecTV, and TVG's not part of the regular package, and there's no sense of paying for sports channels right now that don't have sports, so I don't get TVG,
We also carry
and it's
the
bumming me out.
Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Cortec.
How much
You get
is the Pick 5
softness,
today at Gulfstream?
quietness, And the easy installation to go with it. We also have Cortec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
1 minute.
Dan Martineau here, owner of DR Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us
Hello.
today for a
Brent.
free inspection.
Yep,
Good morning, Mark Miller and David Moulton in Florida. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning to you as well.
We are about 30 seconds from going on, and in the
Okay.
midst of the pandemic, you're getting called from the host because this is how we have to do it with everybody at a home studio.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is all the same for me.
Right. We've kind of laughed. It's like, yeah, that's why I think John asked you, will you do video? Some people are, yeah, sure. That's the whole new thing now, right?
Well, normally I would, but in this case, I work downstairs, and we decided during the pandemic to renovate the entire downstairs. So
good for you.
I got like a gigantic block wall behind me, and it just all tore up. I'm just like, nah, not on this one.
Are you doing the work?
No, my wife is actually huge into doing this stuff. So while I'm working through all of this, because this has been crazy busy for the NFL, she literally tore down an entire brick wall. Like, I'm not even joking.
29 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. Dave Wanstead will join us coming up at the top of the hour, and we'll talk a little college ball with Mike Griffith of the AJC 1 hour from now. It's a pleasure to welcome back Brent Sobleski of Bleacher Report. He covers the NFL for them. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Sobleski. Brent, first off, how are you and your family doing these days?
Oh, we're doing well. Thank you for asking. Hey, for me, life doesn't change because when you cover the NFL, it doesn't stop. And thankfully, we have something to discuss when it comes to sports and a bit of a reprieve from everything that's going on with my family. My wife's a teacher, so she's been working at home with the kids and getting everything done. So we are well, and I appreciate asking. I hope everything is on your end as well and for everyone listening.
And Brent, more respect for your wife now as I finish the show and begin my kindergarten teaching for the day. I think all of us that are doing that for home have the utmost respect, and I think all teachers, now that I've done a lot of these Zoom meetings with my daughter, my wish for teachers is to have the mute all button that they could actually use in their classroom, because it seems to be the only effective tool that an elementary school teacher has now, is that mute all button where she can get the complete attention of the classroom. But Brent, it looks as if we're leaking out some things on the schedule. Is it, I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but it certainly seems that we're going to play non-conference games first. Is that what you are hearing?
Well, that's a lot of what they want to do. And then we have to remember that what we're going to see tonight is the template. And it's not necessarily the end game when it comes to the NFL schedule, because there are going to be so many contingencies in place for whatever occurs and however the NFL can actually roll out the regular season, that what we see tonight could be drastically different once we get to whatever semblance of a regular season we got. For example, the NFL will have contingency plans in place for 16-game schedule, 12-game schedule, 10-game schedule. They'll have a contingency in place for starting in September, starting in October, maybe pushing back even later and playing into March, April. So all these things that could come out today and all these little quirks that we're going to see within the roster, within the schedule itself, could change drastically in short order depending on what happens from a national perspective. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to set it up initially to try to work around certain things. And one of the best examples that I can give is when you look at the NFL, because of everything shutting down, not just from a league perspective, but from a nationwide perspective, you have two brand new stadiums that were supposed to open this year in Las Vegas and Los Angeles. And those aren't being worked on at the moment simply because those construction sites do not fall under essential business. So teams like the Chargers, Rams, and Raiders could very well be playing on the road for a month or two before they even get an opportunity to return home to the new stadiums. All these things, all these little caveats are going to be placed in this year's NFL schedule. That'll be fascinating to watch once we see the rollout tonight and where it goes from there.
Brent, there seems to be, at least publicly, a lot of concern with those that are involved in college athletics. There has been very little public concern with those that are involved in the National Football League. And maybe it's because Roger Goodell was full steam ahead on the draft and that went so well. But from the people you've been talking to in the league, privately, how much concern is there? Or do they just believe, you know what, this sucker's going to work out?
Clearly there's concern, but I would say the best word for it is determination. Determination to have the NFL back this year in whatever form or fashion they're capable of doing so and keeping it as normal as possible. The difference between the NFL and the collegiate ranks is when you have amateur athletics, quote unquote amateur, they're inherently tied to the universities themselves and how that they can apply it to not just the athletes, but the entire student populace. And they have to deal with that reality and how difficult that's going to be. The NFL, you have to worry essentially about when you get games, the 53 men that are on the field as players, the coaches, the staffs, and you don't even necessarily have to have fans in the stadium to have games to compete. So they're more likely to be able to push forward with a season than a college season simply because of the extraneous ties that come along with being an amateur sport. And that's really where the difference lies between those two. In looking at the professional ranks, there's going to be questions. We saw questions through free agency, open questions by general managers and league officials going into the draft. We saw that there was an outcry to potentially push it back. Things went well in both regards with very little hiccups along the way. So I think those two things from what we've seen so far is created a little bit of confidence and the ability to plan a season and be able to have one this year instead of pushing it off entirely into 2021.
You know, Brent, the one, and maybe it's just the timing of the fact that we're not in a season, we're not ready for a season to start, but the baseball players have complained vehemently, it seems, that every plan that's come out. There's been players that, well, I'm not doing that. We're not going to Arizona. The hockey players have had a little resistance, but not much. The basketball players have been pretty much all in. But football, we haven't heard much from. Is it just that the season's so far down the road, it doesn't seem like you're getting the same, whether it's pushback or positivity, it just seems that the players have more of a wait-and-see attitude. Is that accurate?
Agreed. And furthermore, I mean, we're sitting in what would normally be close to a dead period when it comes to the NFL. Yes, you would have had some rookie mini camps coming out of the draft. You would have had your first voluntary mini camps for NFL teams, and they're still holding them virtually, keeping them to the same standards as if they were able to be in the facilities. But if you're I don't know, I'll just use an example because we saw it last year, Odell Beckham Jr., you are an established player, you're a veteran who's made his money, you don't need to necessarily worry about roster bonuses, you don't have to worry about what's going on with the team in the league at the moment. You just have to worry about yourself, your health, and whatever plans that you may have had to change. And so I think because of those reasons, we're seeing that it's not as big of a deal, that they can still stay home, they can still stay safe. It will become more of an issue with the NFLPA as we get closer to the actual potentiality of getting everyone within the facilities on the field and practicing. Because there's going to be a point that if we are going to have a season, it's not just going to emerge out of nowhere and guys are going to go on the field and play. There's going to have to be a preparation time of some sort, how long it's going to be, how they're going to adjust, and where all these individuals from across the country, from different areas and from different portions of our society will have to be together in a indoor facility and worry about their health beyond what the typical standard of the NFL is. And so I think that's when you'll start hearing those murmurs more. Right now, it's just they're taking it as it goes, and then they'll see as it becomes potentially more problematic.
He's Brent Sobleski, covers the NFL for Bleacher Report. Follow him on Twitter at Brent Sobleski. How concerned, if at all, are the Steelers about Roethlisberger? He's coming off a major injury. He's getting up there. I mean, this is year 17 it's going to be for Ben. Yeah. And not only that, every time you see him, quite frankly, he looks fat. I mean, he looks out of shape. I mean, is there concern in Pittsburgh about Roethlisberger?
I don't want to call out anyone else, but the quote that we had yesterday from Jay Glazer's work, it just blows my mind that it came out publicly when a fan, you know how every national pundit does their mailbags, right? And someone asked about Roethlisberger's, his health and the way he looks and why he goes. And Glacier wrote, "There's no fitness in Ben Roethlisberger. His idea of a great offseason workout program is doing one yoga session, playing golf, and drinking some beer." Now, first of all, that's a guy I want to hang out with. Second of all, I don't know if I want that to be my franchise quarterback, especially when you're coming off a season-ending elbow surgery on your throwing arm. And it's a legitimate concern. I mean, there's been weight potential issues with Ben dating back from college coming into the NFL. We know this. We know there were concerns about not necessarily work ethic, but attitude along the way and how he portrays himself. So when it comes to the Steelers, publicly they're saying everything the right way. They know he's his franchise, and really their actions tell us they're committed to him. They didn't go out and draft a quarterback, which surprised some people. They haven't tried to acquire any of the veterans on the market like Jameis Winston or even an Andy Dalton. He came free. So they are invested fully. Now, there should be some concern there as well, but they know that he is their best chance to win. And if he does come back healthy, even if he's overweight, but plays to some semblance of what we know as Ben Roethlisberger, the AFC North could be just a bloodbath this year, considering what Steelers have on defense, the Baltimore Ravens, if the Browns could ever come together with all the talent on that roster. And now you add Joe Burrow to the equation in Cincinnati. That is one exceptional division, and it really is going to depend on that one wing of Ben Roethlisberger and how he's prepared for the season, how difficult the journey is going to be.
Steelers, a team that always is talked about with the playoffs. Well, I'm going to give you two teams that won't be talked about, and tell me if you think there's a third right now that's a leader in the clubhouse for on the clock, because it looks like Jacksonville is making, basically told the Miami Dolphins, hold my beer with tanking for Tua with what they're doing. And I don't know if the Jets roster is good enough to get much more than 3 or 4 wins. Is there another one that you're looking at right now? Who are the teams you're looking at? If we were tanking for Trevor, who do you think are the leaders in the clubhouse right now, based on their roster?
Let me say this. I don't believe that anyone should tank for Trevor. I don't even necessarily believe he's the best quarterback in the nation coming back this year. When you look at Ohio State, Justin Fields, and what he did last year, it is going to be a race to be that top quarterback prospect. And furthermore, if you would have looked back the last 3 years and you would have had Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Joe Burrow as your number one quarterback going into their final season on campus, people would have called you crazy. That's just the way.
No doubt.
That's just the way that it's developed in recent years. But with that said, Carolina befuddles me. They really do, because they're prime for a strip it to the studs rebuild, but they haven't gone that route under Matt Rule's new regime. You bring in Teddy Bridgewater, you sign Robbie Anderson, yet you let go numerous veterans who could potentially contribute. Gerald McCoy, Don Terry, Poe, Greg Olson. So that's a team that either they're going to hang into mediocrity or completely fall apart. And I don't know which direction it's going to be, because I just simply don't understand their approach to this year's offseason. So that would be the third team I would throw in there for that group, simply because I want to know what their philosophy is, and it's not apparent at the moment. And the way they've approached the offseason is completely different than what I expected.
All right, you throw in your 2 cents on what the Packers did. A, your thoughts on Jordan Love, and B, is that draft the unmitigated disaster that the two guys you're talking to think it is?
It is, but not for the reason most people think. And I wrote about this past week about going and selecting Jordan Love. This is the sticking point for most people. The actual selection of Jordan Love does not bother me. In fact, in some ways, I think it's a smart way to approach team building. This is the Green Bay Packers, where Ron Wolf basically made them into a powerhouse again in the 90s. He's now in the Hall of Fame. He had a belief that you've invested in a quarterback each and every year, and we saw how beneficial that was for them, even when they had an Iron Man like Brett Favre at the position. Now, with that said, when you look at Jordan Love, everyone looked at him as a potential first-round pick. We knew the ability, we knew the skill, but we also knew he was a developmental prospect. So you place him in a position where he's not going in as the immediate starter. He'll have time to progress and potentially maximize his upside. So to me, that's a positive. The two massive negatives that came from that draft is this. One, you didn't need to trade up for Jordan Love. There was no one positioned that would have made a move for him. Even though they only gave up a 4th-round pick, that's still an asset you could have used elsewhere on your roster. And the other being that for some reason, somehow, one of the most wide receiver needy teams in all of the NFL, which everyone targeted as needing someone to bookend Devontae Adams, didn't select a wide receiver in the most historic wide receiver class ever. And so when you bypass that position altogether, and I don't want to hear from Brian Gutekunst that it didn't fall the way they wanted. You could have manipulated the draft like you did with your quarterback to find the wide receiver you like. Not to mention, you continue to pass on receiver after receiver after receiver. To give you an idea, when you look at what they had this year, 36 wide receivers were selected in this year's draft, which tied a common era record. Okay, that 4th-round pick that I mentioned earlier, 18, so half of those wide receivers were selected after the 4th round. You're telling me you couldn't have picked one at some point just to help boost up that positional need, and they just didn't decide to do so? And furthermore, when you did go to offense, you went in the 2nd round with A.J. Dillon, who's a nice player, but he's a downhill physical running back. He's not going to help you much in the passing game. And then number 2, you went for Josiah DeGuara in the 3rd round, who's going to be like the fullback / tight end. How does that help you long term as an offense to not only continue to build around Aaron Rodgers, but Jordan Love eventually? And to me, that's where the biggest mistakes occurred.
No, we back you 100% there, because they had opportunities to help their club later in the draft after Love, and it didn't see. They just seemed to stockpile areas where they were already good. Having a little fun today because of obviously what's going on. I'm going to ask you our poll question to see where you are going forward. What are you looking forward to doing again? Handshake, bro hug, a good old fashioned hug, or are you Howie Mandel and you're done with all of it?
No, we're going to go Demolition Man style, where you wave the hands in front of each other. Not from physical contact. What I'm looking forward most to, and I told my wife this the other day, I just want a fresh hot pizza. I mean, that would, because she's one of those where she doesn't even want us ordering fast food or anything like that. So we haven't, and I just wanted a nice hot pie from one of my favorite pizza places here locally, and that would make me greatly happy.
What beer would you have with it? Because you are a self-described beer snob on Twitter. So what is the perfect beer with a pizza?
Well, it depends. See, I'm a stout guy, so I love a deep dark stout, and I do have a deep dark stout. That's actually the name of it from a local brewery with a buddy of mine called Hightower Brewery. 15% ABV Russian Imperial Stout. I know that's heavy for a lot of people, but that's my nirvana.
Wow, that is heavy.
That is.
That's like a pulling.
You can't do a shot and a beer with that. Holy
damn!
cow.
My goodness, I feel like a cornerback just got run over on the edge. Damn.
I like my beer like my coffee. I want it black as possibly could be.
Right there with you. Right there with you.
Brent, thanks so much. Appreciate your time and your insight, and you and your family stay safe.
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys have a good one.
Brent Sobleski of Bleacher Report. Follow him on Twitter at Brent Sobleski in Ohio, home for the Sobleskis, if you're wondering where, in fact, that he and they are and where you could get that really dark stout.
If we ever do an HGTV show, apparently his wife is our first guest, because if you were with us on Twitch, we called Brent a little early, and they're on a full-on demolition. That's why he didn't join us on video. And I said, are you doing that? He goes, no, the wife's doing all of it. Wow.
Right. While teaching.
Yeah. Impressive.
Yes. Very versatile. Brent Sobleski of Bleacher Report, kind enough to join us. Today was the day when, and then at the top of the hour, Dave Wanstad here on Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us 14 minutes before 8 o'clock on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
From Southwest Florida's news leader, this is a Wink News Update.
I'm Teresa Shea with Wink News. New unemployment numbers are due out this morning.
A Sobleski, by the way.
Oh, it's a sandwich.
Thank you.
It's probably, and it could be like a sausage, like a Polish sausage sandwich.
I was thinking, okay, could go with that. I was also maybe thinking a big, like, meaty omelet. But I like it. So, what do you want? You could see it in Chicago, right? Give me the Sobleski.
Yeah, Polish sausage and sauerkraut and mustard on a sandwich. Rye bread.
Really?
Polish sausage on rye bread's delicious. That's
No. I'm just thinking for the Sobleski. But yeah, okay. Huh. I'll go with that.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace from Creel Tractor Company. We are open for business and taking all precautions necessary. We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery. And the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and no payments for 90 days on new products. Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Right now, get 0% financing and no payments for 90 days. Offer expires May 31st. Visit KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Creel Tractor since 1972.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
Do you own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us at 239-283-2013. It's a free, no-obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
We're all stuck at home, and we're finding out more about ourselves. Like sweats, our all-day attire. There was a reason you ate takeout all the time. Yeah, honey, that does taste good. You didn't really need all that toilet paper. And you found out that we're the ones. You you've been listening to during these crazy times. We're Fox Sports Radio.
I'm going to read this Twitch message and then toss it to you.
Sounds like a plan, David.
It didn't take long for us to do something about it.
Turns out some of the best cataract surgeons in the world are right here in our area at Community Eye Center.
We really care about improving people's lives by improving their vision.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafor really do care about helping people, and we're so glad they helped us.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about what we do.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody,
Don't be a spreader.
Be a spreader.
100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us.
Don't
65, diabetes,
be
COPD, all
a
these
spreader.
severely by this virus. Wash your hands. Be careful. Don't be a spreader.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister.
Hey, Tej.
Meisters in Naples on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great.
My favorite commercial you do.
Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tech in stock, ready to go.
Everybody do it with me. Here we go.
As soon as you want it, everything from starting at $2.99.
Oh my goodness! Do you look? Can you come over here and show? I want to see. Come here. This is what I call getting dressed. I am. You know what? Later today we'll do some cleaning too, because I am teaching you how to be a great woman. You're learning, you're cleaning, and you're learning how to dress properly when you clean.
Wow.
Yep. We are full Elsa today, everybody. Head to toe, this girl looks terrific.
You really owe it to yourself to visit the
Terrific. She's going to shut the door because she's going to do schoolwork and I make too much noise. Right, Maddie?
Floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Okay.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
8 minutes before 8 o'clock. Dave Wanstead to join us coming up in roughly 10 minutes' time here on Miller and Moulton. Mark, I know I told you I was going to do something during the break there, but you know what? Since we're pressed for time, how about we just get right to today was the day when?
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
You had time. Not a lot happened today. May 7th.
Well, good. I could throw it in at the end.
Pretty boring day, apparently. But we'll start in 1917 when you watched a hell of a tilt as the Red Sox beat the Senators 1-0 as Babe Ruth outpitches Walter Johnson. That works.
That does work.
1-0 your final. 1932, the 58th Derby. I only did it because Burgoo King wins. And I'm just trying to figure out how the track announcer could get Burgoo King out of his mouth over and over during the race. That sounds like a tough one to me to do. Eddie Arcaro wins his first of 5 derbies today in 1938. Our grandmothers, David, were probably pretty fired up today because Glenn Miller records Chattanooga Choo Choo.
Oh.
My grandmother was a big Glenn Miller fan. I don't know if your grandmother was as well. That's it. You've got to go back a ways. The Mamas and Papas released or hit #1 with Monday today in 1966. In 1969, it was the second ABA championship as the Oakland Oaks beat the Indiana Pacers 4-1. The Oakland Oaks. Didn't even know they existed, David.
I'm right there with you.
The Beatles released The Long and Winding Road. It was their last American release today in 1970. 1972, the Lakers beat the Knicks for the NBA championship in a 4-1 series win. 1977, Seattle Slew wins the 103rd Kentucky Derby on his way to a Triple Crown. 1982, California federal jury rules NFL violates antitrust laws in preventing the Raiders' move to Los Angeles.
Yep. That was the beginning of Al Davis versus the NFL.
And he kept winning.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he just kept winning, and Pete Rozelle kept getting angrier and angrier with Al Davis.
And remember, that's 82. All right, Davis beats the NFL in court. What happens, all right, shortly thereafter? or no, a few months earlier, they were in court. Raiders won the 81, the Raiders then later in the year, the year later, they end up winning the Super Bowl.
Let's see here. That takes us to 1994. Gopher Gin is your Derby winner, and the Nuggets become the first 8 seed to beat a 1 seed in taking out the Sonics.
Best of 5. It was a best of 5. They lost the first 2, came back, swept them. That's when Dikembe started the finger wag.
And in 1995, the Twins beat the Indians 10-9 and 17. That's not really the significance. The game lasted 6 hours and 36 minutes, or as we call it, a Yankees-Red Sox 9-inning game. 2018, this is really insignificant, but I love it. The World Snooker Championship. Welshman Mark Williams wins, beating John Higgins, and as promised, does his press conference in the nude.
Wow.
I love that guy.
Don't know if that was
If I win, I'm doing the press conference naked, and then I win, and I strip down and do the press conference. And it was 1 year ago that the great city of Denver becomes the first U.S. city to decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms. If you were born today, you share your birthday with Gary Cooper, was born today in 1901. Baseball manager Dick Williams, born today in 1929. Johnny Unitas, one of the greats, born today in 1933. Grateful Dead drummer Bill Krautzman, born today in 1946. Randall Tex Cobb, born 70 years ago today, as was the late Tim Russert, born today in 1950. And Eagle Eye Cherry, you know that song Save Tonight, David, born today in 1968. And that is, today was the day when, on this 7th of May.
Make sure you vote in our poll question. What is it that you miss the most between a handshake, a bro hug, or just a good old-fashioned hug? Or we give you the option of going, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but I am going to be done with all of it, which right now is winning at 36% of the vote. But the hug is coming up on the outside, making a strong run for it in second place. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Dave Wanstad will join us next on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Attention community heroes, France Eye Care would like to express our appreciation for all that you do as you serve on the front lines, and that's why we're offering $1,500 off bilateral LASIK for first responders. All EMTs, firefighters, police officers, and critical care workers in hospitals and minor emergency clinics are eligible to receive this benefit through May 31st. Dr. Jonathan France, one of the original pioneers in the field of LASIK surgery, and his expert team of surgeons at France Eye Care want to help you experience better vision and a better life.
No. How does this happen? Okay, when you look at what's trending on Twitter, David, and it says Steve Munchin is trending with Axl Rose, and you wonder why.
They got into a Twitter.
Yes, it's official. Whatever anyone may have previously thought of Steve Munchin, he's officially an asshole. Is what. And Munchin says, "What have you done for your country lately?" and posts the image of the Liberian flag instead of the United States flag.
Wait, what?
David, Steve Munchin responded to Axl Rose by saying, "What have you done for your country lately?" Question mark, with the Liberian flag instead of the U.S. flag.
Oops.
He picked the wrong flag, David. He's the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States of America, and he picked the wrong effing flag.
Well, hold on a second. And when you're on your phone there, is it possible that the flag is like right next to it and you just...
Doesn't matter. You're the Secretary of Treasury. I can't have typos from you when you're fighting with Axl Rose on Twitter. Your first mistake was responding. Your second mistake was being inaccurate. Both of which are tremendous errors in judgment for any individual, let alone, did I mention he was the Secretary of the Treasury? Good Christ. And Munchin doesn't, I mean, that sounds like a snack. It's not a drink, nor is it a sandwich. Exactly, Hops. Exactly.
Yes.
Hello.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. How's everything?
You know, same old thing. It's Thursday, I guess, right?
Yeah, it is.
Are you down in Naples still?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, at least the restaurants and beach. I mean, it's a lot better here than
You got that right.
it isn't a lot of other places. Just from a mindset,
Yep.
for sure.
Hell, I'm still playing golf once or twice a week, and they don't even act like anything's going on there. All right, we're up in about 30 seconds. As always, thank you for your time, Coach.
Okay, who am I going to be on with again?
David is first, and I will go second. David, Moulton, Mark Miller. David will talk first.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks.
2019, I found my bro hug crew. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
Sorry.
The best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
Your life.
Couple minutes past 8 on this first Thursday in May. Thanks so much for being with us. We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and also broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch channels. Mike Griffith, who covers the SEC for the AJC, will join us at the bottom of the hour. It's a pleasure to catch back up with Dave Wanstead, who, of course, is part of the NFL on Fox coverage. You can follow Coach on Twitter at Coach Wanstead. Dave, how are you and your family doing these days? We assume that you are spending May in the 239. How are you?
I am absolutely, David. I'm down here, and our grandkids came down. We've missed the spring break in Chicago in March, and we missed Easter in April. So they finally surrendered and got in a car and drove down from Chicago. They said, we need a break. So I said, come on. So we have a little bit of company here, but yeah, I don't know how, all indications that I'm getting from Fox is that there's going to be an NFL season, and whether it starts on time or what's the, as far as logistics. So I'm planning on getting back to Chicago, and then it'll be LA, and here we go. So everything is good. I have no complaints.
Dave, if you were coaching right now, what would be your biggest complaint? How hard is this for the 32 coaches in this league? They just completed a draft. They've got new players. There's going to be no mini camps. You've got coordinators installing new systems. Just how hard is this going to be to get ready from a season from a coaching standpoint?
Well, I really think that if you look at it, you got to break it down probably three different ways. I mean, now I'm thinking about it. Number one, the new coaches compared to the veteran coaches. And when you say a new coach, you're saying, well, they can get the playbook over, doing Zoom and the virtual stuff. Well, but as a new head coach, there's nothing like being on the field for mini camps, for the off-season workouts, and kind of establishing a relationship with your players one-on-one. And also you're starting to develop a little bit of a foundation or a little bit of a culture for how you want the program to run and what the changes are going to be. You can't do that over a phone. I mean, it all sounds good in a clinic, but it doesn't work. So I think the veteran coaches that have kept their staffs intact for the most part and have veteran quarterbacks, they're going to come out of this thing, I think, 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody else. I think the positions, back to your draft picks and how would you deal with it, the positions that are really going to struggle and be behind are going to be your offensive positions, in my opinion, because they're, the receivers and the quarterbacks. I mean, there's timing involved. There's from a running back standpoint, you blitz pickup. The defense blitzes a linebacker. Do I have him? Does the lineman have him? What's the call? What's the protection? So yes, I would say that the offense is going to be behind defensively, and I coach defense, as you guys know, for 40 years. I'm not slighting the defense, but we used to line up on garbage cans with defense and teach everybody their assignment. So it's a little bit easier on defense from a learning standpoint than it is on offense. So I think new head coaches, new quarterbacks, and offensive skill guys are the ones that are going to be behind.
In Bruce Arians' case with Tampa, which way, if you're going to err, do you err here? Obviously, we all know he's got Brady now, but it is how much of it do you make your system that he then has to learn, or how much of it now do you then cater your system to Brady?
Well, no, he's going to learn the system of Tampa Bay, and Tom's such a grinder. I mean, there's nobody that's more committed to doing it than Tom. So he'll learn their system, but I think what Bruce will do a good job of, Tom does certain things, certain runs that they can do, certain pass plays that they can do. Some can throw the quick out better, other ones throw the deep ball better. So what Bruce will do is he'll kind of adjust the offense to what Tom can do best. But as far as what the offense is called and what the plays are called and what the blitz pickups are called, he has a good foundation set with his team right now, and Tom will learn that. That will not be a problem with Tom.
On the other side of this, with all these quarterbacks that were drafted early, is this kind of one of those blessings in disguise? Because we've been trying to jam quarterbacks in so quickly. And you look at the Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield class, there's still a lot of incompletes on that class. Is this maybe a little bit of a benefit for the Chargers and the Dolphins that they might be allowed to wait a little bit longer on the quarterbacks they drafted and not get the pressure to want to force someone in before they're ready?
Yeah, I mean, I think every team's a little bit different, but I'll tell you who it takes pressure off of? It takes pressure off of the general manager and the head coach, because every owner that drafts a quarterback, owners don't see it the same. Most owners don't see it the same way head coaches do. They draft this kid with the third pick. They expect him to come in and do the same thing he did at Miami that he did at Alabama, and it's not going to happen. So I think this takes a little bit of pressure off the head coach and the GM from the standpoint that they can tell the owner, well, we didn't have the mini camps and we didn't have the off season, so we're going to be doing this a little bit slower than what you normally would. But we love him, and he's going to be the guy, so your money's spent well.
Talking the NFL with Dave Wanstead, who, of course, is part of the NFL on Fox coverage. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Coach Wanstead. What was your thought about the Dolphins taking Tua? Was he the guy that you wanted them to take? How concerned were you about his injuries?
I was concerned, only for the fact that when we would draft players, I wanted to see a history of positives. I'm going to be real interested to see what happens with Burrow, okay, who not, with Cincinnati, the 1-year wonder guys always made me a little bit nervous because you really don't know. When we drafted Emmitt Smith, you saw what he did at Florida for 4 years. That I like those guys that have a history. Well, when you get back to Tua, the thing that makes me nervous, excuse me, and would have made me nervous is that he's been hurt going back to high school. So, that's a concern. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I love the kid, but I think there is a little bit, you have to look at it and say he was throwing to 3 receivers at Alabama. 2 of them, I think, were first-round draft picks. So it's I think you got to take that into account also. Now, the only other guy that I would have taken or considered taking would have been Justin Herbert. And obviously the scouts there, they know more about Chris Greer, the GM at the Dolphins. He knows a lot more about Justin Herbert and about Tua than I do. So let's give him the benefit of doubt. I think Chris does a good job.
Well, and it's hard to say say anything negatively of what their draft was this year because the Dolphins have needed a quarterback for a while. Let's just hope they got the right one. But speaking of the Dolphins, obviously you coached there, and we all know Coach Shula passing. Just your thoughts, your reflections on Don Shula. You obviously spent time with him, and he was such a big part of what Miami is, not just football. But just your thoughts and comments on Coach Shula.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been communicating back and forth with Mike, his youngest son, who Mike worked for me at the Dolphins and Mike worked for me at the Bears. So, and then I was with Coach Shula. A lot of people don't realize that, but he hired me from the Hurricanes, and I was with the Dolphins for about 7 weeks. And then Jimmy Johnson got the Dallas job, and it was a promotion for me. I went to Dallas as the defensive coordinator. So I was with Coach Shula. He did offer me my first NFL job, and we always had a great rapport. And then when I was back there as the Dolphins head coach, he would come to the games on Sunday. I would see him at Dolphin functions, and it was always really good. And I think, obviously everyone wants to talk about the undefeated season, and that's an unbelievable feat. But I would also say that, to do it as long as he did it and have success over that long period of time, that to me, being a former coach, that's a thing that just is mind-boggling, that you can have success after success after success. And he did it. And I think that might be, in my mind, the most remarkable thing that the guy did on the football field.
So the only 2 losing seasons out of 33 of all the stats that could jump off the page, that one sounds like that would be pretty high on your list as somebody who did it. To think that you could coach that long in the NFL and only have 2 losing seasons.
Yeah, that without a doubt. I mean, most coaches can't last 5 years, as a head coach. The pressure gets to them, or they have success and they get complacent and they don't do the work and the bottom falls out, or there's conflicts with the owner, the general manager, a la Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones, the egos get involved. Coach Shula was able to balance all that stuff. And you know what, too, and I got close to the family a little bit because of Mike. And, when Coach Shula's, I mean, as a man and a father, I mean, his sons and grandkids, the way they look up to him, I remember his son Mike telling me that when his mother, Coach Shula's first wife, when she was struggling with cancer, when she was dying with cancer and she was in the hospital, Coach Shula was sleeping at the hospital. He would leave the office, go home, check with the kids after school, and then he would go and he would sleep at the hospital and then go back into the office the next day. I mean, just, there's so many stories like that away from the football realm that I think, South Florida was very fortunate to get a football coach and a man like that to represent that city.
And Mark, along those lines, I believe he missed in all his time, 33 years, they say he missed a day and a half of work. He missed the day that his first wife passed away for the funeral. He missed the whole day. And then he had surgery himself in the morning and was there after lunch. He missed a day and a half of work in 33 years.
It's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. And it is the one thing, not just Coach Shula, but you and all these coaches, when they talk about the 16, 18-hour days, it's something that I find unfathomable. I've worked hard in my life. I don't know how that your coaching brethren have that drive, Dave. I don't know how long, do you still have it? I mean, you're in the broadcasting, so you're still studying. Was that the first thing when you basically knew you were done with coaching and you were going to be a broadcaster? Is that the first thing that changed, or do you still grind as hard?
No, I could do it now. I mean, I've been blessed with pretty decent health. I've had my share like everybody at my age, but I could still do it right now. And you know what? I don't think there's a coach out there that looks at it as a job. You know what I mean? I mean, they enjoy as crazy as that sounds. It's a blessing to be in that profession because, and I speak right now, the NFL brings me in on once a year, and I go around the league and I talk to young coaches. They bring them together. And this is kind of interesting because your first or second year guys that are like the offensive assistant to the assistant to the assistant. Okay. These are the guys, and every team has to send 2 coaches. And last year it was in Tampa. It was in Tampa last year. And I come in, they bring a group of, it's a 2-day seminar, and I'm on the thing as far as being one of the speakers as being the ex-head coach that came up through the ranks. And the first question I ask these guys is, why do you want to be a coach? Why are you in this profession? And we're talking about guys sitting there like Randall L. I mean, guys that have very successful NFL careers and are now getting this coaching. And I tell them, and I say, if you're getting in this for the money or you're getting in this for the recognition or the fame, you guys are getting in for the wrong reason. You won't last long. You will not last long. And so I think the majority of coaches, we all get into it because we love the sport. We love the teaching and the coaching of it. And that's what Coach Shula was. I mean, and that's, that's why it never really was a job for me. When I knew that I was kind of hitting the end, it's when we lost the game, and the losses lingered for like 4 days. And if we won a big game the next day, I was like, okay, let's move on to the next one. The losses became more impactful and more emotional in my life than the wins did. And that's stupid. I mean, that's not, something's out of whack, and you're kind of getting to the end, I think, when that happens.
Well, to switch gears in a sense, but something that's been out of whack for a while in Chicago is finding a quarterback. And you went through it even with your tenure, in which, you brought in a couple young guys, whether it be a Steve Walsh or a Rick Meyer. And then you also had your veterans that you brought in, and, Kramer and Craig. And just your thoughts on the quarterback situation in Chicago. From where we sit on the outside, it just seems as if you're paying some guy that much money and you spent a 4th-round pick to bring him in, I mean, don't you think that's who they're going to start, not Trubisky?
You insinuating that just because I had 6 quarterbacks in my 6 years in Chicago that I had a quarterback issue?
Oh, I'm saying that it seemed as if you had trouble replacing Harbaugh.
Well,
that's all I'm going to say.
Very nice way of putting it. Okay, because you could have ruined my day if you would have phrased that another way. But I'll tell you what. I have, even last year, I was in the minority, and I do 2 radio shows. I have my own TV show up there in Chicago during the week, Bear shows. And I was in the minority in that city saying that I can get Mitch Trubisky into the playoffs tomorrow. But here's the deal. And for all the Bear fans listening, Don.
Oh.
Well, it says he's here, but he's not here. We kind of lost Coach there. I don't know if he's hearing us during this, but we lost him. So I don't know if he's in a bad spot in his house or if his grandson pressed the mute button on his phone. And now we've lost him completely.
There you go. I think he went to a bad area of the house. Boy, and he had it set up big, too.
Well, that's all right. Coach, we got you back. We lost you there for a second, but you just basically said you do the shows, and I was the one who said you could take Mitch Trubisky in the playoffs, and we lost you. So please go from there.
Right. Well, see, someone from Chicago must have muted this out or something. But no, I was in the minority because I believe to this day, and I'm still saying it, that I could take Mitch Trubisky and get to the playoffs. They got a top 5 defense. They got this running back, David Montgomery, that I think is going to could be a star if he gets the ball enough. But you have to do, guys, what your quarterback does best, right? A la Jay Fiedler. You got to let him move. Mitch is a good athlete. He can make throws. He studies it hard. But he's not a drop-back quarterback to throw it 45, 50 times a game. He's not Dan Marino. And I think that's what – and so if the Bears are going to try to do that with Mitch, he's not going to be successful. If they're going to play defense and run the ball and do what he does best, you'll be a playoff team and maybe a Super Bowl team. I don't know. I don't know if he's that good, but a playoff team. Now, you bring in Nick Foles with this whole off-season thing that we talked about. Nick Foles has been in like 4 offenses the last 5 or 6 years. And he's been very average. For all the Chicago fans listening, look at, and I love Nick Foles. I know him. I love him as a person and a player. Look at his numbers compared to Mitch the last 4 years. He's been very average. The best year he had was at Philly with Chip Kelly. I think it was 2015. So, and now they don't have mini camps. I think Mitch is going to be the starter. And the pressure on him in Chicago, I've been there. The first time he throws a pick, they're going to be booing him. I mean, it's a tough situation that they have right there. But I believe that Mitch Trubisky can win if you use him right. The second point, I believe that Mitch is going to come out of this thing and he's going to be the starter day one. That's just my feeling on it.
Well, I think all Bears fans listening right now were pounding their fist on the table when you mentioned Montgomery, because if there was an underused player in the league more than Montgomery last year, I'd love to know who he was, because he's a good running. I'm with you, Dave. He's a good running back, and he was not used correctly in Chicago a year ago.
Well, I watched this kid play his whole career at Iowa State. He played. We talked about a history of players when we first started the show. He's got a history. He played big against Oklahoma. He played big against Texas, Iowa, the big games in his college career. This kid showed up on a solid team at Iowa State, not a great team. And, he's a guy, in my mind, he's got to be a 20-carry, a game guy if you want to get the most out of him. And at times it happened last year, and at times the guy was non-existent. So I'm going to be real curious to see when they get started if there's any philosophy changes on how to attack this. Because I'll tell you what, you can't waste that defense. Your window is closing, guys. You got a top 5 defense in the NFL, and you got good coaches on defense up there, Chucky Pagano and the crew, and you mess around another year or two, contracts are going to be up, players are going to get older, and you're going to be back to square one.
Well, and not only that, I think the GM and the coach only have 1 year. If the defense's window is 2 to 3, the GM and the coach's window may only be 1. And, Coach, we agree with you. We've been pounding the table. The Bears need to run the football more. That would help.
Play action pass, let Mitch run it. The best year, we're talking about Nick Foles, he averaged, I think, you can check this, it was either 4, I think he had 7 carries a game when he was with Chip Kelly. He averaged almost 5 yards a carry. So back in his prime, he was running the ball some. And that's what, Mitch needs to carry the ball half a dozen times a game. That needs to be part of their offensive attack, in my opinion. But what do I know, right? I'm sitting there talking to you guys, right? What do
exactly.
I know, right?
Coach, all the best with your grandkids in town. Stay safe, and when it comes time to travel, safe travels. Hopefully we can talk before the season starts.
Anytime. Let me know. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Bye-bye.
Dave Wanstead, part of the NFL on Fox, and he'll find out, like the rest of us tonight, in a little less than 12 hours, what the early season schedule looks like. 8 o'clock is the official schedule release on the NFL Network, although each team is allowed to release the schedule beginning at 7:30. So for those of you that follow your team on Twitter, I would go to your phone at around 7:30, 7:40. And my guess is that your favorite team's schedule will be out. The word is that they're going to start with the non-conference games. So in the case of the Bucs, that means an AFC West opponent early. And for the Dolphins, that means an NFC West opponent early. And the rumor is that the first 4 games are going to be the non-conference games. Then this way, if they have to push the season back, the non-conference games will be the ones that get sacrificed. Dave Wanstead joining us here on the Goldberg, New and Abraham Law Firm Hotline. Local people, local practice, local knowledge. Your legal questions answered for free when you send in an email at goldberg-law.com. Miller and Moulton. How about Mike Griffith? Talk a little SEC and college football from the AJC. He is next. The good, the better, and the best is about 25 minutes away. Thanks for joining us, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers are taking every precaution to keep you and your family safe with dealer-to-door delivery. Plus, we're making deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease, 0 down, $149 per month. Yes, a new Kia for 0 down, $149 per month. Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease, 0 down, $269 per month. That's right, Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, 0 down, $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months, no payments for up to 120 days, and prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239-481-2600, GallianaCars.com. 42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing, plus first month tax, tag, title, dock, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is Dan Martineau here, owner of DR Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is DR Martineau.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more?
God
Go to
dang it.
myshowerdor.com.
John, you got to give me the emails. I can't be typing emails during a goddamn show. Shit.
Brian Creel here with my son Trace from Creel Tractor Company. We are open for business.
Come on,
with
for
all precautions
fuck's
necessary.
sakes.
We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery. And the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and no payments for 90 days on new products. Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Right now, get 0% financing and no payments for 90 days. Offer expires May 31st. Visit KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Creel Tractor since 1972.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
Do you own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us at 239-283-2013. It's a free, no-obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims
I'm probably going to have to
process.
call him. I
We
don't
have
think I did.
experts standing by.
God.
Okay.
Well, I need John. I've told him he's got to email me this stuff because I can't be trying to look at a text message and type it. God damn it.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
28 minutes past the hour of 8 on this first Thursday in May. Thanks so much for joining us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Coming up in about 20 minutes' time is the good, the better, and the best. One of the stories before we welcome Mike Griffith from the AJC onto the show. One of the stories that I did not get to in the starting five, FIU eliminated a sport yesterday. FIU announced that they were furloughing 22 members of their athletic department through July and that they were dissolving the men's indoor track and field team. Done. Not coming back. Also, Pete Garcia, who I believe is their AD, but he's deferring his salary for a year. Now, deferring it. So his intention is to eventually get paid, but he is deferring his salary for a year. 22 athletic department employees furloughed through July, and FIU eliminating a sport, men's indoor track and field. There have been a handful of universities who have announced that here in the last few weeks. Mike Griffith from the AJC is kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. First, Mike, how are you and your family faring during all of this?
Yeah, locked down, man, like everybody else. Just taking measures, measured behavior, being careful, social distancing, following all the guidelines from the White House, trying to.
Well, we have no guidelines in college football, Mike, and the fact that we don't have a commissioner of college football, we have 5 conference commissioners. Everybody, we run wild here, so there's no procedure. Every other league has a definite procedure of how and what they're going to do, or at least considering it. College is a little bit more like the Wild West. How much discussion, if any, of your recollection is being done between conference commissioners right now?
Well, for one size doesn't fit all. So I think that's an advantage that the colleges are different from one another because it's far different. Just looking at what's happening in your state, Florida there, obviously, it's far different in South Florida than it would be in the Panhandle as far as, the density of cities and things like that. So, and the virus rate, I would guess as well. So I think that autonomy is not necessarily a bad thing, but it kind of defaults to what the state laws are. The states and the governors get to decide what's best for their state for whatever reason, whether we're talking about, the safety of it or the hospital occupancy rate. And finances do absolutely play a role. People, that's the elephant in the room is that, finances play a role, as we're seeing with Florida International shutting down a program and furloughing people. Then you have to think about the unintended consequences of that. And, when you measure it out, if you're under 20, what's more of a risk to you, not having a job or, whatever the percentile is that you could have some complications from coronavirus. So like I said, one size doesn't fit all. I do think, though, that, listening to Greg Sankey, he visits with his athletic directors in the SEC almost every day, and the presidents and the chancellors once a week. And then he's also on a once-a-week call with the Autonomy 5 commissioners. We know them as the Power 5. They're calling themselves the Autonomy 5 as a reminder that they've got the freedom to do what's in their best interest. So I think there's a lot of communications going on. I think there's a lot of provisional plans being made for a return, how this might happen, what's the safest way, a lot of medical experts being consulted. It's a heck of a problem, but I feel like that people are being responsible and really doing all they can to evaluate things before they make decisions.
He's Mike Griffith from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. You can follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Griffith32. Virtually every university president in the SEC has announced that they're going to have students on campus in the fall. Is there a school in that conference that there is a worry about, or no?
I don't know. To my knowledge, I guess I'd be just talking off the top of my head, but I know Louisiana was hit kind of hard early. I'm not sure if I've seen them among those 11 of the 14 schools yet. I've seen 8 or 9. I saw Tennessee yesterday and Georgia. The thing is, what isn't what it looks like now. The thing is going to be, what does it look like before Plan A goes into effect? And I think what people are aiming for right now, based on the information we've seen put out there, the NCAA Oversight Committee recommends 6 weeks. So if we're going to work backwards from the start of the season at the beginning of September, you'd say that you would want the student athletes on campus in the middle of July. Of course, this is assuming that the other students are going to be on campus for fall semester, for a 2-week quarantine period with their coaches. And then after that 2-week quarantine with the coaches, then they would start their activity and in August like they normally would. So that's kind of the timeline we're looking at. But how do things look the first week of July? I mean, is there a big rebound rate? What have we learned more about this virus? It seems like we learn different things about it every day. I'll say this, though, and this is kind of a point that I don't hear people talking a lot about. Now that the states are opened up, now that you can go to the mall, now that you can go to McDonald's, now that you can, get a haircut, are the student athletes safer at home or are they safer on campus? Because when I look at the student athletes at Georgia or Tennessee or Michigan State or Auburn or Alabama, anywhere else I've covered college football, they're pretty much quarantined from the student body 95% of the time. They got their own football building. They got their own meeting room. They got their own training table. They got their own academic support center. They got their own weightlifting facility. So how often are they really mixing with people that are potentially carrying the virus who haven't already been tested. See, that's the difference in the school environment, particularly for student athletes. They can all be tested. They got medical 24/7. At home, I don't think they do. So I would be asking the question is, what's better for them? What's safer? And is it being at home, scattered around the country, or is it being in a controlled environment on campus?
And the other part of this, to me, Mike, and I think you're right on with that. I think one of the things that we may hear, and not just on the college level, but on all levels of sports, is that these athletes, we've seen a couple athletes get it. Well, they get through it pretty good. One, they're in great shape and they don't have other issues going on. But the coaching staffs and the other people, my biggest fear of opening the sports back up is that the clubhouse managers in baseball or some of these longtime trainers in football, they're of the age where they could be impacted by this more. I think there's an issue for the coaching personnel more than the players, don't you?
Well, I mean, medically speaking, yeah, and I understand what you're saying, but to me, from my observations, the coronavirus is everywhere, and whether they are at school or aren't at school, there's going to be a risk. The idea that it's got to be completely safe before you go back that's flawed, because it's not completely safe if you don't go back. I mean, it's not like getting on an airplane or not getting on an airplane, right? The dangers of flying are when you're in the air. Okay, well, the dangers of coronavirus are 24/7. Doesn't matter where you're at. Doesn't matter how locked down you are. I mean, I've gotten groceries delivered probably 4 or 5 times. Is there a chance the groceries could have coronavirus? Absolutely. I see people in poultry plants and beef plants with this disease. Could it be communicated through them, through the food? Absolutely. The whole concept of safe, is kind of, not to blow your mind, we never really were safe. We just didn't know it. And we can take all the provisions that we want. I'm not a fear monger here, guys. I'm just talking truth. We can take all the provisions we want. We can handle coronavirus, and 6 months later, it could be something else. We have no idea what it is. This is a reality. This is where we're at, man. And so you take provisions, you take care of yourself, you monitor your health, you go for your check, you do everything you possibly can, and you live life. And right now we're taking extra precautions because we're trying to understand a widespread disease, right, which is reasonable. But the concept of, the naivety that we've operated with, and yet I look back at those pictures from people at a football game wearing masks, the Spanish flu in 1919, and somehow we progressed from then to feeling comfortable in our society, where I was watching a Jerry Seinfeld concert or comedy show on television last night, and everybody's shoulder to shoulder. So we've overcome something similar before in our society. We just learn and move on in advance.
He's Mike Griffith of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. If by chance you don't know what he referenced there a moment ago, there's a picture that has emerged in the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 days that was from a, Georgia Tech football game that took place during the Spanish flu sometime between 1918 and 1920. And it was a bunch of people at the game, and almost all of them were wearing masks. But the stands were packed, and they played. And that somebody stumbled upon that picture recently, and they released it. Mike, specifically about Georgia, my goodness, lost just about everybody on offense, going to have a new quarterback along with it. Some people are still going to pick them to win the East. I saw an early preseason thing last week that had them ranked in the top 5. Should they be the pick in the East, and should they be ranked preseason where they have been lately, or on paper to start the year, has Florida caught them?
Wow, that's a lot. Well, I mean, I don't really, Florida lost some offensive linemen and receivers, and they didn't score a touchdown on Florida until, the fourth quarter. I think they finally got in the end zone against Georgia when Georgia went in a little bit of that prevent. Georgia brings back 9 of those 11 starters on defense.
They do.
So I guess it's possible Florida has had a great offseason, even though everybody has been quarantined and not training with one another. But I would say not likely. Possible, but not likely, considering the fact that I think all offenses are going to be behind because of the lack of spring drills. Certainly that hurts the coaching staff's ability to identify your playmakers and limits the amount of time that your quarterback can work with returning receivers. So I would say that probably hurts offensive-oriented teams and probably is to benefit of defensive teams. Georgia brings back 9 of 11 guys on defense. They're pretty good. A couple of guys came back that could have been drafted. A few guys, really, 4. Tyson Campbell, Eric Stokes, Richard LeCount, DJ Daniel. They got 4 guys in their secondary that are going to be drafted. They got a middle linebacker that was recently projected in the first 2 rounds, Monty Rice. They've got a few defensive linemen in Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, Malik Herring. These are guys that are also going to be drafted. Herring was the highest rated defensive lineman returning in the SEC according to Pro Football Focus. So this defense is probably like no other. And that's what they're being ranked off of, is the strength of that defense. Now, you mentioned the quarterback, Jamie Newman from Wake Forest. A lot of people projecting him as a first-round draft pick. I think that's a bit much, but he is 6'4", 230, and he did average more yards per game than Justin Fields did, and Jamie was playing at Wake Forest. So he's pretty good, and they're going to go more of this read option game. Offensive line, they bring back, 3 or 4 guys that have starting experience. Not going to be as big or as dominant as last year. Receiving core can't help but get better. They were pretty awful there. With Lawrence Cager on the field, Jake Fromm completed 76% of his passes. Florida saw that. I think he had 132 yards and a 52-yard touchdown in the Florida game. Without him, Jake Fromm completed 53% of his passes. Well, he's moved on. That's the good news for Florida. The bad news is that George Pickens is back, and he may be the best receiver in the league. He may challenge Chase for that. He's a pretty special player. So I tell you all those things, and I guess I would say I think it's probably warranted because of the defense and because of a couple of the key playmakers on offense.
When you look at the West, obviously LSU last year, kind of a perfect storm. I mean, Tua got hurt. There's no question that helped LSU. Burrow was there. Same thing with the receivers going first round, but they lose a coach that was a big part of this. So when you look at LSU going forward, we know the talent will be there. But everything worked out perfectly a year ago. Now, no one's expecting them to go undefeated again, but will they maintain that closeness with Alabama, or is Alabama clearly back in front of LSU again? Mike, you with us?
Yeah. I think you're right about what you said about everything working out perfectly with LSU. You know, I'm sitting there watching the NFL draft, and it seemed like 1 out of every 3 or 4 LSU players had some disciplinariness. That he came back, you're like, wow, how did Ed Orgeron keep that shit together? But not only did they lose Joe Brady, the offensive mind, but they lost Dave Aranda, their defensive coordinator, and Joe Burrow, who was a 2-year graduate student who never even had to step into a classroom. Talk about quarantined. I can't imagine. I can't imagine lightning striking twice for LSU. I can't imagine that level of performance. I mean, that offense that we saw was unbelievable, guys. I mean, take a picture. I don't know if we're going to see that again. Not in the SEC, not with the rigors of this league and the defenses in this league. So, to answer your question, no, I don't think so. I'm a big skeptic. I think LSU is a tough place to coach. I think Ed Orgeron did a tremendous job. But now where the expectations are going to be at, it's almost like you start the clock, right? So Alabama, I don't know. Their defense wasn't very good last year. I don't know why do we think it's going to be any better this year? Offense should be pretty good, but they weren't good enough to beat Auburn last year, right? Without Tua. So what's going to happen with Auburn? Texas A&M, 1 year better with a quarterback returning. I think the West is wide open. Alabama's the favorite. I saw they've got a lot of guys projected to go in the draft. It's the de facto pick, but nothing would surprise me in the West. And I think Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M, or Alabama could win the West.
Well, A&M certainly thinks it's their year. They got Kellen Mond coming back, who may be the best returning quarterback in the league, and they got about 20 fourth and fifth year seniors that are coming back. They could look an awful lot like 2010 Auburn, and they believe that they are LSU in waiting. We'll see. They are talking themselves up in College Station. Mike, thanks for making time for us. Stay safe. All the best. Hopefully we can talk before the season kicks off.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Mike Griffith, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Follow him on Twitter at Mike Griffith 32. Mike joining us here on Miller and Moulton. And for those of you that are dog fans, he is the Georgia guy for the AJC. So you can sign up. He's got an app just for Georgia coverage.
Oh, yeah. He is the man when it comes to dog football, and I know Gator fans love hearing that.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing your son is all over.
I'm sure he was listening. If he didn't listen now, he'll listen on one of his drives today, delivering farm equipment. So he'll catch up and catch all of that interview, I'm sure. And you can too by, signing up for our Connecticut cast. Good folks at Connecticut making sure that if you miss any part of the show, you can hear it 908-2300, 908-2300. It has been, one of the things that has kept David and I sane during the coronavirus pandemic. We don't have to buy water at the store because we have the best water there is. The reversed osmosis system is simply the best in the business. It's the only one that doesn't use electric. So when your power goes out, everybody else's system has to be reset. Not Connecticut. 908-2300. Simply the best water in the business. Miller and Moulton. The good, the better, and the best to finish off this Thursday edition of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening to Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
John Lynch, the GM of the Niners, comes out and says, "Yeah, we had some interest in Tom Brady." Big conversation.
Right off.
Who does that benefit? John was in the media. He knows how this works. Are you trying to get Jimmy Garoppolo to play better? I don't know if this gets Jimmy Garoppolo to play better. If that's the logic, okay.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Hey guys, Frank here for Center for Men's Health, where the physicians and staff want you to know that C4MH.com is open and is going to remain open throughout this ordeal. C4MH.com continues to disinfect daily with Microban 24. All patients and staff wear masks, and they will provide you with one to keep. C4MH.com now checks your oxygen level, as a low oxygen saturation level is an early symptom of coronavirus. At C4MH.com, it's always been about doing it safely, and now they've stepped it up to the next level. I've been a C4MH.com patient for years, and I know that safety was always their first concern, but I'm amazed at how they responded to this issue. I just learned that C4MH.com has donated 10,000 gloves, dozens of N95 respirators, and hand sanitizers to hospitals. Their donations to hospitals just confirm that C4MH.com wants frontline health care to be safe as well. C4MH.com, the leaders in low-T care.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Do the math. Taking care of your pool is probably not a good use of your time and money. Free $50 Bonefish gift certificates when you sign up for one of our award-winning weekly service plans. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
A big part of enjoying a good bike ride are all the sights you see along the way.
So when David and I both developed cataracts, it didn't take long for us to do something about it.
Turns out some of the best cataract surgeons in the world are right here in our area at Community Eye Center.
We really care about improving people's lives by improving their vision.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafor really do care about helping people, and we're so glad to help them.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about what we do.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands. Be careful. Don't be a spreader.
Twitter. Follow Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio on Twitter. Yeah. Follow us at Fox Sports SWFL.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Cortec flooring. Tim?
Are you hearing these ads okay, or do they sound...
Well, I've got them turned way down because when I call guests, I don't want that blasting through the phone, so I don't have it on very loudly. And I can... That's where it normally is when we're doing it. I don't...
And it's not just the many colors.
I'm sick of them. If you want to know the truth, it's the same 10 ads all day, and I just don't feel like turning them up anymore.
Okay. I was just...
Yeah, I turned it, whenever I call a guest, I turn it down so they can hear us. And since we've had guests back to back to back, pretty much, I've had it down.
Really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Well, we've hit rock bottom.
Let me say something. Let me say something. I'm in a glass case of emotion.
You know things are really bad when Waffle House is closed and Mark Miller has a positive attitude.
Let's pump the brakes there.
With that being said, here's our brand new bright and shiny segment. Mark Miller's The Good, The Better, and The Best. Man, I hope we get back to normal fast. This is weird.
Your life.
Just like to bop my head to that, David. It just cheers me right up. That's that happy, joy kind of music.
I was dancing the first 3 days of this week on Twitch. I sat this one out.
For the good, we go to Massachusetts, where George DeMilo was on duty. He's a state trooper in Massachusetts, and he got the call from his wife saying it's time to go to the hospital.
Oh, I got that call. I was at a bar.
He drove home and started taking his wife to the hospital. But on the way, it was time. They didn't make it to the hospital. So the trooper pulled over and delivered their son Jackson on the side of a highway in New Hampshire. He was able to help the wife deliver the baby, and members of the Bedford, New Hampshire Fire Department made it on time to help as well. Baby Jack is doing great, according to a Facebook post from the Massachusetts State Police. They write, "What a little trooper."
See what they did there. Oh, that's adorable.
Isn't it now? For the better, we just go down the road from our cozy confines here at my studio, not yours. Just down the road.
It's not ours anymore?
Not right now. Yours is there. Mine is here. It will be ours again.
Oh. Okay.
But I mean, just in reference to this story, because it happens just down the road at Radazio Grill restaurant in the Coconut Point Mall, where they're open again. And Emmy Toomey got a pretty nice tip last night. She thought it was a mistake. She thought it was $50, but it was $500.
Wow.
$500 tip. Note left on the check that said, "Welcome back to work. You are essential to all of us." The good news is that they share their tips there. So busboys and servers and bartenders all got a little bit of the $500.
That's
fantastic. Great. And the best, we stay right in Southwest Florida. Rebecca Maddox is the owner of the 360 Market in Naples, and she started the 50,000 Meals Fund 2 weeks ago. She says, "I like big goals that have magic that bring people together." Her goal is big, raising $500,000 to create 50,000 meals and 50 jobs. So she has been using 5 employees and 3 part-timers. She's been getting contributions. They work from 2:30 to 6 in the morning. They go get a couple hours of sleep, and then they do it all over again. All fresh meals that they've been taking to people in need in Southwest Florida. If you want to donate to her fund, I have put the 50,000 meals story from Wink News on the Miller and Moulton Facebook page. I will tweet it out as well if it's something that you're interested in helping out on. Certainly a great effort by Miss Maddox, and great to see things like this happening in our own backyard. And that is the good, the better, and the best on today, this May the 7th, of the longest year of the history of our lives, 2020.
Our poll question at that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Which of these are you most looking forward to doing again? A handshake, a bro hug, a hug, or I don't know what to tell you. I'm done with all of it. I'm done with all of it. Still in the lead, but the lead keeps shrinking.
Losing a lot of steam, David.
Yes,
it is losing a lot of steam.
By the way, I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be the handshake, but no. Coming up on the outside right now is the hug.
You know, you keep
Trying
using
to chase
horse
down. I'm done with it.
You keep using the horse racing references. Did you catch the coronavirus horse race, the simulated horse race? You know, where they name all the different horses. You know, it's a social distancing, and I'm going broke. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'll send it to you after the show. It's pretty solid. There was a couple of things that were missing, but you know, my bank account was in dead last. I mean, it was pretty well done. And I do want to get to a comment you were going to read earlier, then you were going to read again, and you didn't, and you may have forgotten about it. But yesterday we got into this whole Mount Rushmore of coaches, and it's ended up being its own show on Twitter for most of the day. And there were people for and against Andy Enfield being on the local coaches Mount Rushmore. We received this in our Twitch chat room from Miller and Moulton fan who happens to live in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. And it's not my son. He says, I was wearing an FGCU basketball shirt last evening at Harris Teeter. Harris Teeter is their version of Publix. And, of course, that happens. Right as I have it up, someone sends a text, so I can't get it in front of me. But he says, I was in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. A guy in a UNC shirt looked at it and mumbled through his mask, hey, Dunk City. Andy is on the Southwest Florida Mount Rushmore. You're damn right. I don't care, Dorsey. I don't care any of your high school coaches. Explain to me if Sam Sirianni and Bill Kramer have done amazing work, and all these other coaches have done amazing work. There's not one of them that's recognized in Raleigh, North Carolina by wearing a shirt. Your Fort Myers High shirt or your Naples High shirt isn't going to get it done there. Trust me, I wear my Millbrook baseball shirt around here, and no one recognizes that.
Feel good?
Better.
Feel better?
1 minute.
I do.
Well, you took a beating on Twitter yesterday because of it. So
yeah.
That's why I let you go there. You know. But yes, our little statewide Mount Rushmore of coaches turned into a Southwest Florida Mount Rushmore of coaches discussion. And we've come to the conclusion anyway that every county can have their own Mount Rushmore. Probably needs it. And that got us into a whole Charlotte County discussion, which, you know, will continue over the years.
I won't. I'm done with it. Charlotte County, until they're part of this marketplace, you can have them.
They are. They're part of it. Binky, I love you. You know that. I love you. Miller and Moulton.
Brett Soblitsky, Dave Wanstadt, Mike Griffith all joined us today. If you missed any of it, go to millerandmoulton.com to download the Connecticut Cast. The Dan Patrick Show is next, right here on Fox Sports Radio.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a
we've
frameless
had a
shower
good
door
week.
from a big box store